Presentation, rise for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First up, we have the auditor. What's that? Oh, roll call.
First District David Ham.
Here.
Second District Tori Slade.
Present.
Third District Charlie Brown. Fourth District Pete Wentholzer.
Present.
Christine Smith.
Here.
Sixth District L.A.D.O.S.
Here.
Seventh District Brandon Myers.
Present.
Thank you. Next is now is the auditor. Which time are they got? Oh,
Morning.
The auditor's office would just like to have 3% employee raises. In county general, line item 63150, consultant fees in the amount of $18,000. And in county general, line item 63830, matching funds in the amount of $10,000 for cities and towns. And that's it.
Okay. Any questions from the,
Where's the 18,000? I see the 3%. Where is that at?
That will be to sender.
That would be where?
That will be to sender company for the fixed assets, the capital assets.
No, I wasn't asking you about that. Where is it on this? I'm looking at a document. Where, so anybody know where it is?
Services line item, if you into each.
Well, I just have the. oh,
That's different than the
I just
3%.
have the letter.
Correct.
Why don't you show me this one? Yeah, now.
Maybe we can, show it familiar with everybody?
Yeah, that's probably wouldn't hurt.
oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so.
Oh, I.
First thing I told them.
Tutorial, I think it'll help everybody. So none of these, the departments don't have this, so they won't be familiar with this specific document.
Okay.
What they're speaking to specifically though is in the services line item. Make this bigger. On the dashboard. So we're looking at the dashboard for auditor. So dashboard for auditor. So in this line, they have a $49,000 increase or 5%. So what they're speaking to regarding sender is in this specific line item. If you want additional detail beyond the dashboard, there's a line item income statement deeper into this 187 page deck. We can move over to that. But for high level purposes, this is where it would be in under the levy section here. So you have a levy and you have a non-levy section.
Okay, now she's asking for 3.6.
Yeah, so a total increase of levy funds, a 3.6 increase, and then in non-levy funds, a 15% increase.
And this is a salary increase. 3.8.
Correct.
Where's the 18? Or maybe I'm misunderstood. Where's the 18?
It's buried into this $1 million number.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yep.
I know it much now. Stuff.
Yeah, it's all. Any other familiarity questions, at least with these dashboards
Just, no.
or graphs?
Anyone? Questions?
Deeper into the deck, I think, 140, page 140 is like the traditional LC 231 that those that have been on the council for a while have seen and used. This dashboard just gives a high level summary of the changes.
Mhm.
So.
Thanks.
Anyone else have a question for the auditor? Thank you. Scott, do you want to give an overview of where we are financially or anything we should know at this point?
Yeah, I can. So I did send out a 16-line statement to the council via email. In that 16-line statement reflected a budget of all the requested money. That totaled to about $186 million maximum levy of the requested dollars. our total max levy usable is 192 million. So theoretically, we could approve everybody's requested budget and move on, but that would be unwise. Because you're going to eat into surplus that you won't have available, one-time use for this year to balance the budget. And then next year, you're going to be in a situation where you're cutting to sustain that. So, that being said, I think we're gonna have to look at starting with the 23 budget, because that's the last known number that we can trust at this point in time. Last year we started with 21 actuals. We could use 22 actuals. However, it feels like 23 is gonna be a better trustworthy number to use at this point for a jumping off point to build a budget. And yeah, we can go from there on that one. But all in all, I think the overall financial health of the county is probably better than it's ever been. We should be able to afford some raises and some strategic budget increases here and there if need be. But there is that challenge of at least the cash balances and getting comfortable with sort of how accurate those are jumping off points. So to the extent those sway one way or another, 10% either way, that could cause us to make changes to the budget as we go. So we have to keep that in mind for Thursday's workshop. So strategy on how we want to move forward. Do we want to bake in a bunch of changes that we may have to change at some point, or do we want to kind of be simplistic and then simplistic now and strategic later, once we have a comfortable starting point for cash balances of the budget.
All right, anybody got any questions for Scott? Thanks, Scott. All right, treasurer.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, we received the memo from Scott about staying at 3%. So our entire budget, including raises, is just under 3% from 23. There's really nothing spectacular in there. No new capital purchases or anything like that. So that's really the extent of the treasurer's budget. We stayed within our parameters, and I even discussed it with my chair before, submitting.
Mhm.
And the other reason why we wouldn't, sorry to interrupt, the other reason why we wouldn't just take everybody's budget as requested is, John is right, they stayed within the guidance that we gave out, the 3% guidance. There's others that did not. So in respect, we penalized John for doing the good deed and then someone else being aggressive. So we want to be mindful of rewarding the behavior we desire, which is what John.
Just remind them who they are.
Yeah.
I made a note.
Yeah.
All right, any questions for treasurer, John? All right, thank you.
You're
You're doing solid waste?
Solid waste, right. You have, I don't have it with me, but you have before you the solid waste budget. Now, unlike the county, they're not, tied into that 3%, but I believe they followed that rule anyway. And the budget was approved. Christine, what is it, 27 members on that board?
Yes.
All the board members approved the budget unanimously. And it's before you guys because you have binding approval. And that's really the gist of it.
Questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, John.
bye-bye.
Okay, surveyor.
Good morning.
Morning, Bill.
Morning. Surveyor's office, I'll just kind of do that and the drainage board together, if that's okay.
Yes.
So we continue to do drainage projects throughout the county, partnering with Little Cal, River Basin Commission for millions of dollars of projects. We are, I also wanted to report quickly too that last year we took positions out of the general fund and put it into our 167 corner perpetuation fund. there was talk of it getting a budget of the year award from Scott, but we never got that.
Yeah.
The year's not over.
All
The
right.
year's not over.
Award the trophy.
But that's working well. 9 months into this year, it's working well, and we're maintaining that fund, even taking those salaries out. We are asking for some increases for, in connection with our remodel that's happening right now, for some furnishings. And also adding some funds into motor vehicles now that the commissioners are doing a kind of a different way of doing our vehicles, where we have monthly fees rather than buying them outright. So those are the big changes. We are asking for 3% increase for our staff. And I just wanted to point out also the Kankakee fee that for the Kankakee Commission projects in the last page of mine, that is under 64510 under 1790. Just so we can make sure that that's in there, so we don't have to adjust it mid-year. But those are the broad strokes. Here for questions or any comments.
Any questions? All right, thanks, Bill.
Okay. Thank you.
Coroner? Let's see him.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Morning.
Morning.
Hope everyone had a nice Labor Day weekend. I worked in the yard all 3 days. My yard looks really good, but I'm not feeling real good. It's a little warm over the weekend. We tried to do it all in the morning, but that didn't work out. I wish I could stand up here and say what Mr. Patel has said by staying within the perimeter. I used to for 8 years when I was coroner the first time. Always respected and went along with the budget each and every year, maybe but 1 year. The reorganization that we went through, that all of us went through last year, was unbelievable. We worked well with the advisors and with all of you. And I thank all of you, each one of you, for everything that you reviewed and accepted on behalf of our office. You know, just like every office in the county, we're overworked. This is a large county. We have many residents and people coming through our county each and every day. A lot of the things that you might read in the newspaper or know from word of mouth of our response to one case or one scene to another is kind of minimal. You know, we see just a small percentage of our response in the county. We're not overworked per se. During the reorganization in 22 for 23, we reduced the staff by 2 deputy coroners and by 1 case coordinator. That helped us to apply and ask for raises for the staff at that time. And I think just between the salaries from those 3 and the increases to the reorganization, it was minus $8,700. There were a couple other line items that were increased as well. But we are asking for an increase. I probably should have sat down with your advisors, and I did sit down with my chairman maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but I didn't do a follow-up with him, and I apologize to my chairman. Just the line items, the overtime, we are asking for 10,000 additional. Toxicology, we are subtracting again in that line item because the Indiana Department of Health toxicology grant, they're in their 4th year in covering all of the all 92 counties toxicology. The reason for leaving the 30 of 50 in there, we always came in at about 110,000, is in case we have to submit toxicology to a private lab or to get a second opinion. Other professional service, we're asking for 5,000 additional. That's our transcriptionist, because of the larger caseload. And she did increase, our transcriptionist may put an increase every 6, 7 years. But she did put a little increase in plus the caseload. And I'm glad she's still with us. It's a gal that I hired, in my second year as coroner the first time. Travel registration, travel lodging. We do attend a lot of free or minimal, charged seminars. We are training. We have attended a lot of free, seminars, put on by various counties. We're attending one in a couple of weeks out in Will County with Gift of Hope. The reason for that increase, is because we're looking to send a couple of our deputies to St. Louis and to a couple other areas that really offer some really good, continuing education and training. So after the line items I just mentioned, the only thing I can say about salaries for entry, certification, and senior level is comparing correctional officers, other first responders, which we have been deemed a first responder since the beginning of 2023, finally. But just comparing our county to other counties, comparable in size and much smaller, their deputies at every level are earning a lot more money. We have an awesome staff. We have some really good deputies, very well trained, college educated. I'd like to keep those deputies who have done so well for so long. Some newer ones that have come in that we're training are doing very well. And it's just a matter of trying to keep a good staff. Our deputies are exposed to, everything under the sun, as you know, and I don't have to go through a whole list. You know what our deputies are dealing with on a daily basis. And if you don't, come on over and I'll talk to you about it.
All right. Any questions for David?
No, but the
All right.
last time I heard Patrick talk like this, wow, Patrick.
No,
I
I don't talk like.
Oh, but he got approved now at the state level. He was, I have nothing further.
All right. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Next is the clerk. Which I don't see on here.
Good morning, everyone.
Learning.
So I guess the clerk's office is going to be the first to say that we are asking for 5% in the salary line. But with that being said, we also did that reorg here just a couple months ago, where then we are going to move and ask for some appropriations and some lines in our 194 fund, the clerk perpetuation fund. But we're going to take on some salary, one salary in that clerk perpetuation fund. We also asked for a few legit increases in the some 6.3 series in the general side. Again, they're legit increases, specifically the mileage and the maintenance and service. And then we also asked for some increases in our clerk perpetuation appropriation, which we do have the funds to cover those increases. And by you allowing those increases, then that keeps us from coming up to the council, throughout the year to ask for more appropriations in that 194 fund. And I think that's about it.
Any questions? Nope, you're good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Recorder. Moving along, right on schedule.
Timing worked out that way. Good morning, all. To echo the clerk and then also the treasurer, we did request for a 5% increase in salaries. However, the rest of the budget, we stayed at 3%. Christine, I know we had a discussion and met with Scott and Tori, and we are in line with the 3% for the remainder of the budget. So really not much else to report on that. It was an easy process. I thank you all for your help for that.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, Assessor.
Like the recorder and whoever else before me, we did request 5% in the salaries. But we were within the 3% that was requested by Scott and Tori. So we did stay within that. I do have a couple of additional appropriation requests, which I don't know if you guys want a copy or if you would prefer that I just kind of read them off. We had some legislation impacting some of our assessment responsibilities. And so some of those items required increases in our postage line items and the Peterborough other professional services line item to cover the expense of additional appraisals that we anticipate being needed as a result of some legislation. And I'll pass these out because I have the IC codes for those pieces of legislation. You guys can refer to those, or you can reach out to me with any questions that you have.
All right, thank you.
Scott, am I correct, little Tanya's? Did it go down?
Did what go down?
I think.
Yeah, so what I managed to do was stay within that reduced budget that was passed for 23. So although we were reduced for 23 based on the actuals from 21, we managed to stay within that reduced amount for the most part, with the exceptions of those items that I have listed here. As I often do, I was able to take a couple of salaries, move money around to accommodate the current needs of the office. So you will see overall a 5% increase, but there are various increases throughout the position line items just based on the responsibilities. But I'll just kind of run through the table that I just passed out. So we already covered the 5% increase in the salaries. For office supplies, we kind of did an average over the 3 previous years. You'll see a $50,000 reduction, which is what Dave is referring to. We reduced our legal services line item by $50,000 to ensure that we stay within that overall 3% increase. In light of that 27th pay that I know has been an antagonizing issue. In the clothing line item, we have $1,200 that we're requesting for additional polos and attire for office, for field inspectors. And then the additional amounts that were approved for both the Hobart and Calumet Township Assessor's Office are being included in my office's other professional services requests, as it should be because that contract is through the County Assessor's Office. And then the legislation that I referred to has to do with apartment buildings. We are now required to approach those differently. We have to develop all 3 approaches. We have to do additional mailings to accommodate this new legislation. And so we are requesting $25,000 in our postage line item. We have $25,000 in our field vehicle lease renewals to cover that expense. And then because of legislation that regards the Peterborough and their ability to secure appraisals, we requested $50,000 in the Peterborough budget, which is separate from the county assessor. So I guess I should have held off on that. But aside from that, I can just say that the Peterborough budget is exactly the same as the previous year, with the exception of that additional $50,000 that I'm requesting.
I got you.
For appraisals.
I was complimenting you in a sense. Scott, can you help me? Because in the dashboard I have, it looks like Latanya's requests are lower than they were last year.
It's lower than the 23 adjusted budget, so everything's compared to the budget as of June. So the increases that they perform to shift money around between the assessors is already in there. But you're correct. So her total request is just under this current year's budget, even with the increases.
And so questions, guys. So I do have a new position in there. And when I looked at the budget, it didn't show in the appropriation line, but it is in there. Tori added it. It's a deputy position. So I just want to make sure that it's showing on your side.
As long as, when we add the we can double check.
Okay.
When the position's in, the salary should equate to the appropriation.
Right, and it didn't, and Tori said that you'll add it on the back end, so I just wanted to make sure. But anyway, thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Do you guys have any questions for me? If you do, feel free to reach out, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
you.
Cal Township.
Good morning, council. How are you all doing? Great. We're working at a little bit of a disadvantage. Our bookkeeper retired on us. And she left about a week and a half ago. And so we're working at a little bit of a disadvantage here. We did request some increase in terms of salaries for specific positions. And we went through the 3% increase as it related to all the employees, with the exception of the 4 leadership positions. We did increase a little bit more there. And the whole idea behind that was to bring it up to, comparable salaries to other department heads, other bookkeepers within the county. That may not have been the right thing to do, may need to get with Scott on that. As it relates to, the other portions of the budget, there were some issues with certain equipments that we wanted to buy. We wanted to purchase a new copier. We had to do some upgrades on our alarm system there within the building as well. And we has requested additional monies for that as well. So that's where we pretty much stand.
Okay. Have you checked with the commissioners, see if they have any money for copiers?
No, I have not.
That's Coon Cap dollars. You could try.
Commissioner, okay. Okay. Will we do the same thing also with the alarm? We have to have upgrades to our alarm system.
Yeah, the alarms.
Alarms as well. Okay, can do that.
Any questions?
I just had one. You said you increased most of your staff, all of your staff by 3%. Then you said there were some people increased by more. What was that more?
Yes, sir. More was the clerk. Tried to bring her up comparable to other bookkeepers. We also did the same thing with the chief deputy, and we did the same thing with the operations manager and my own salary.
And how much is that?
Comparable to other office positions here in the county.
Okay, how much was that though? Is that 4%, 5%?
About 6.
6%.
It's on page 147. I want to look at that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And you do know for your vacancy, you can go through human resources, post that.
Yes, we are.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Center Township, good morning.
As far as our general fund is concerned, we've asked for a 3% raise for the staff across the board. And the other 2 items we increased is our rent pursuant to our lease goes up every year. And we've asked for a couple of $100 extra for utilities to correspond with them. In our 337 reassessment fund, we've asked for a little bit more money in part-time and seasonal. We are still 1 full-time person short. We had a long time employee that passed away last year. We had filled a couple of positions. And so we're still looking for a full-time position. And we're hoping to get someone that does have some experience in assessments and so forth. We've also asked for a little bit more money and other professional services. Oh, excuse me. I'm choked up today. My 25-year-old niece was at a 3-day concert and she OD'd.
Oh, God.
Passed away, and they think it's
You know what?
fentanyl. So, and so I'm a little bit.
This mess.
So sorry.
It's
Yeah.
a mess. So I apologize.
You did not even have to be here.
Yeah.
But it definitely gives you-
It's a good dedication. That's
I'm here.
We're good, Joe.
But we did ask for a little more money on professional service. Service. Sorry.
well, and I mean, I don't see, he's got, no, I think we're all good. We'll take care of those. You know, you never come in high, so I think go be with your
Haven't been
family.
here in a while,
Go,
so.
yeah, we miss you. It's not that we
I
don't see you.
I miss all of you, a couple of new members here that I've not had a chance to even meet, so.
We miss you for those cigar meetings every now and then.
Yeah, I miss everybody here, but we'll try to keep it the same and not bug you. Yes,
Hey, Joe, so deal with your family issues. If I need you, I'll get a hold of you. That's the chair.
Yeah. Condolences to you. Oh. Okay, Hobart. Where's Lena? Oh, there you, did you
Morning,
see signs
everybody.
on me?
I did. Well, you guys have seen the our requests. I think most of my increases are on the salary side. Just trying to catch up with the other township assessors here. Trying to gain some parity. I know that the percentages are probably high, but we're like way underpaid. I used Center and Ross as comparables to my staff. We're just real low. I've had 2 job openings on the county website since January that it took till August to fill. I mean, we're competing with McDonald's and White Castles at 33,993, which is my lowest.
It's across the board. I got guys that for $40 an hour, people don't want to come to work. So
Right.
I don't know what the heck the problem is.
2 people laughed and left. You know, I think I got 4 total applications turned in 7 months. So I've been able to complete our work with part-timers. So we're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul from our, from them line items. So any help you can give, I know, my ask is probably unreal, but if we can get closer to these numbers, maybe we could do it in a couple years. Ladder to catch up. I'd just like to be equal to the other township offices. I'm not asking to be, equal to auditors or, court personnel, but I think as a group, we should.
I think you're well, I'm not going to speak on behalf of Dave, but we're actually going to have to make some adjustments. You came in great. Thank you. And we'll make some adjustments and bring those.
Thank you.
To parity.
Excuse me, what was your increase? I never heard it. 6%, 5%, 2%?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't figure it out percentage wise.
It's 2.3. 2.3, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Salaries.
Yep, salary 2.3.
So I know we were okay with 3% on all the other line items. It was just the salaries that I'm trying to catch up to the others. We had a couple, two of my predecessors, they were kind of frugal and they ran, on lean budgets, which is great, but our wages never caught up to society.
His daughter's sitting right there. He's spoiled.
I didn't.
Money at you all the time.
I didn't want to name anybody, because it was the one before him was cheaper. So, thank you, Council.
Julie was just thrifty. We like the word thrifty.
Okay. Good morning.
Angela Guernsey, Ross Township Assessor. We did put in a salary request for 5%, but other line items in general fund, I don't even know if it's a 1% increase. We had some, we adjusted downwards if we didn't need it. I think if we did adjust it upwards, it was for maybe travel, office supplies, just because of the cost of increase of living and the price of anything. And then in the only other big change we requested was in our reassessment fund. We did request clothing line item and motor vehicle line item to lease a vehicle. Because our field representative, I don't think his car is gonna make it through this year. Is it 175,000 miles on his vehicle? So we were asking for this, I think we called the surveyor's office, and that's the amount they said they are paying to lease a vehicle.
Okay, any questions?
It's the reassessment fund. That's for all the assessors, correct?
Yeah.
There's one fund for all the assessors.
Yes.
Yes, and each of the township assessors provide me with a copy of their reassessment request as an
That was, I was gonna ask. Thank you.
Yes.
Great.
Was there a reason they want, instead of just purchasing, they want to lease? Is there a reason instead of just buying outright? I'm just curious.
I think maintenance.
Is that Commissioner Repay that guided us that direction?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, all we do is approve the financing, which is just a better deal, Mike, is what the reason is.
Yeah, basically. Pre-COVID, we ended up, we're able to take advantage of better discounts and then flip the car, basically. Pay for alternator or transmission or anything else. So basically, we try stuff we can to use. I mean, these guys have never had a vehicle at all. And I said, if the council gives you a budget for it, then we'll make arrangements. But all the other vehicles, basically, what we're trying to do is avoid doing any of the high maintenance, any of the larger item maintenance. We can get rid of them before you have to replace tires, then we're in business. And we're buying them we're acquiring them for a lesser amount, so we're going to be selling them without expensive factor. We're not driving the doors off of them anymore. We're doing very similar to what an enterprise car would do or anybody like that.
So basically, it's a 2-year lease is what we would be looking at.
The cadence varies based on the use of the vehicle. So some of them will use a lot more miles more quickly than 2 or 5 years. And then some of them, we've got some vehicles that are specially outfitted that are not going to fall into that category. But I assume these guys' car or vehicle will be a modern vehicle that will be easily resold.
Yeah, probably right. That's the only question I had.
That's it, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
I wouldn't think so.
St. John. Morning.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank everybody for the appropriations on our part-time. It did help. Basically, we asked for 3% for salaries, but if you're going to give everybody 5%, we'll take it too.
Sure.
We are asking for 3% on our NIPSCO. We're anticipating costs going up for utilities. And the other thing that we were asking for is for other professional. Again, that's the appraisals. We're asking for 3%. Other than that, the only thing that we are asking was basically for assessors certification. We need some increase in that and also in longevity. Thank you very much.
Okay. Are we? Is the next one here? Oh, elections are not here yet. Okay.
I wonder if we should build that into that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You want to go, Mark, you want to go ahead or someone, whoever? Or he's at the agenda, but we'll take them anyways.
There
used to be a fund that we used to pay as most of
like 6 months.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
Yes, thank you for taking me early. I have actually have a call with our
Mark has the floor.
HTC people pretty soon, so I appreciate being early. Okay. As usual, my requests are fairly substantial. This is due to the yearly increase in all our support fees and contractual obligations for all the software and the consultants. So another professional services, it's an increase of 332,000 and change. CUME-CAP for other services is 136,000. Reassessment is 60,000. We pay the software support fees for all of the assessors, and that's gone up 60,000 for next year. CUME-CAP for telephone is increased by 200,000. Maintenance and service is the same at 25,000. And then the last one is CUME-CAP. As you'll see, every year it's broken down. Data processing asks for a CUME-CAP amount, and then all the offices that want CUME-CAP flow it through us. We go over it, usually end up cutting their requests down to a reasonable amount, to what they actually need. So the 100,000 is for data processing. The 190,000 is for reassessment for all the offices that requested it for next year. And the reason it's put into my budget is we make sure that the money you appropriate for this equipment gets spent for this equipment, not for something else.
Usually you give us a list of, did you make a list of the department's requests?
No, but I can send them to you. I usually don't send them along, but I will send them to you this afternoon.
Thank you.
Again, like I say, there's substantial increases, but they're mostly contractual.
All right, any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We've got a minute. Can I ask
Go.
Scott a question? Just not for you. This is more just for
Oh, okay.
for
Thank
my
you. Thanks.
edification on how this works. So, for example, I'm looking at page 58 for data processing. There's a cash balance of non-levy funds of about $9 million. Does that solely hit like funds for data processing?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So that's the gambling fund.
Yeah.
So we have 3 different departments in that fund.
Okay.
But so that 9 million is not only for
data processing.
There's a handful of funds that are like that. That's specifically one of them.
Okay.
Generally speaking, though, those fund balances in that quadrant of this dashboard are typically specific to those departments.
For that department.
The public safety fund is another large one that'll cross a couple departments, commissioners, E911, jail, police. And seat is pretty much the commissioners. After that, there's a couple of courts will share the clerk's office, but I think it's a safe bet. If you look at that, you can make that assumption, except for a large one of 9 million like that. But that's the gambling fund. So that's this revenue that comes in from Hard Rock
Casinos. Yep. Okay.
But
and then what would be, if I could just
go ahead.
Okay. So in their 23 budget, they had 270,000 that came out of non-levy funds, but zero this year. Is there, what would the logic be?
So there are additional appropriations related to Oracle contracting.
Okay.
We sourced out of gambling this year. So their original budget, they did not have a budget in the gambling fund. However, as the year progressed, they realized they needed additional funding. So we allowed them to additionally appropriate out of gambling.
Gotcha.
And this month they're on the agenda as well for gambling to extend the HTC, the contractor.
Gotcha. Okay.
But largely the gambling fund is isolated to the council and the commissioners. And then we kind of bleed over throughout the year as needed. Auditor's office has a little bit in there too. But we cleaned that up in the 23 budget because there was a lot of departments, prosecutors, a number of departments that had nominal amounts out of there, just kind of messy. And now that the county's in a better financial state, we're able to clean up a lot of that activity in the 23 budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Cooperative Extension, you want to, elections this year. Income voting, we'll take it. for being time.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Rita Gillis, the CED, the director, and I have Lupita Tingery with me, who's a longtime educator with Cooperative Extension. Our requests were really pretty simple. There were just really two areas of concern for us. I met with Scott Schmall last year and explained the line item that's for contractual services, that's Purdue University. That's a number that Purdue University gives to us. We don't create that number. And that number was decreased from, their ask was $128,398, and that number was decreased to $101,349. So again, that's not a number we come up with in our office. That's a number that Purdue gives to us. And the other issue was, I wasn't sure, I did talk with Victoria. I just wanted to make sure that under our offices and clerical, we still had a vacant position there. There's a position we intend to fill. It's a $30,000 position. It has been funded, but under this budget that we received, the funding was cut for that line item. So I was told the position was still there to be funded for 2024, but I didn't want to continue with I have resumes in my office. I haven't started interviewing with that process until I was certain that those funds would be there for 2024.
Cooperative Extension.
Yeah. I don't think
If
that.
it was cut in 2023, how would it come back? That's.
Well, we'd have to add it. Did you voluntarily cut it? Or you're saying, yeah, I know, I don't believe the council took it anywhere.
Yeah, do it. They could.
Does look like there's a vacant position in there currently.
Yeah.
$30,000 for, was that communications development secretary? Yes, it looks like it's in there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was told, just on the budget we received back, there was a cut in the budget, and I just wanted to be certain that it was still.
It does look like it is.
Yeah,
If I'm looking at this correctly.
yeah, you're correct. It's 30. It's there. Some confuses. I don't know where the communication came from that it was cut. It's in your budget right now.
Then the other main issue, we did ask for 3% for clerical staff, but at 5% is the going rate, we weren't happy to accept the extra 2%. And then the issue with Purdue University contractual services.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. Have a good day. Okay, elections, you're up.
Does look like it.
Good morning.
Yeah, correct.
I believe did you each receive one of our packets?
I have extra.
Unless it's in my mailbox now, but.
Okay, we're glad to give you one. We outlined where the increases were coming from.
I got one.
Thank you.
I don't think I see this.
I had one.
Thank you.
Roughly, we were keeping everything the same. In some instances, we must go up based on going from a municipal election to a presidential election. As you can imagine, the cost will go up extremely, the amount of staff and manpower it takes to run a presidential election. If you look at, I believe it's page 3 or 4, it will show you the dollar amounts that we're asking to go up in, which is overtime, part-time, election day workers, our other supplies, which is mostly the phone services that we use for election day. Consultant fees, there's been a drastic increase in our court reporter that we use for our minutes, which has been extremely helpful, having a court reporter, due to the number of times we get pulled into court on challenges and appeals and so forth. Freight and Express is almost doubling. We have a state mandate, which I'm sure you're all aware of, which is the VD, the Voter Verified Paper Audit Trail. By 2024 general election, these must be in place at all voting locations. Currently, we have 300.
that we have been utilizing in this last election. We've been using them at our early voting locations, and then last year we started moving them into some of the voting locations. But the cost for moving them is approximately $25, which is our cost for the voting machine is $30. So it's a mandatory thing that we're just going to have to put into play. Printing, of course, we all know paper is going up, as well as we will be putting into play some new training techniques and materials for our poll workers to educate them a little bit better. Costs there will go up. And then our other services and charges. We have requested 5% raise across the board for all of our employees. We did try really hard to stay within the 3%, but again, knowing that our budget was cut last year by $220,000 due to a municipal election, it is impossible to stick within that 3%.
Additionally, you'll note that there's a request for any funds that are left over at the end of our year, regardless of which year it is in the 4-year cycle. We are nearing the point that we will need to get new election equipment. So if that can be placed into a non-reverting fund for the purchase of equipment, that would help us not come to you with a request for several $1 million for new equipment. You do have in this packet kind of a breakdown of our inventory when it's due. Election equipment, they're electronics. They have a shelf life. Voting machines about 20 years, iPads about 12. So you'll notice that starting in about 2026, we need to start replacing some of these materials.
Leanne, what do you have right now in that non-reverting fund? Anything?
1.6 million.
And you need how much?
Anticipated, we're not in a process right now. The board has asked us to start gathering information to prepare for a bid process. We're anticipating 6-8 million, if not higher. So obviously that $1.6 million that's sitting there has been there since 2017. It has not been added to at any point. Whatever funds were left over in our budget at the end of the year have always been turned over to the general fund.
Are there any state funds available to support the changeover in equipment?
Well, interestingly, this morning we received an email from Secretary of State's office. They are having a grant application period that's getting ready to open. Not necessarily geared toward election equipment. The entire state is in $2 million. So divide that amongst 92 counties. I don't anticipate enough to make a significant impact.
Check for $5.
Everybody gets one machine.
So, although, we've got that, we're also looking at a grant through the Attorney General's office for a burn jag grant to do some things with, but none of it is significant enough to impact the purchase of election equipment.
Any questions from anyone?
I just had one. How much money was returned last year back into the general fund? From your office?
Michelle, do you recall, or Scott, do you recall how much?
No.
I think the year, well, it wouldn't have been in the presidential year. I think the year before the presidential, it was like 2.5 million. It was significant. What we can run a small election for versus what we can run a presidential election for. Next year, it's going to take all of our resources. We're probably not going to have anything left over at the end of the year. It's going to drain us.
No, I understood that.
Others, I know I think the highest we've ever done was like 2 million, 2.5 maybe.
That's right.
How are you trending this year?
We are looking that we will actually have to be transferring some money to some of our accounts to get us through. That would be a much smaller amount. Keep in mind, this is the year that you do get the money back from the cities and towns for us running their elections. They pay for the majority of it. So we have already been paid for the primary. We'll anticipate some money for the general. I think that was in our miscellaneous revenue projections. I believe we had it in there.
Yeah, as we are generally non-revenue generating. Municipalities pay for their elections in a municipal year. So we pay for it, they reimburse.
We are great stewards of the money, and you will see throughout the years when there is leftover money, we don't go out and just spend unless there is a need. And in fact, at one point in time, when we did purchase the poll books, we were able to scrape and catch up some money in there in order to do it without having to come to you. So we are great stewards of the money. We don't just spend it.
This is one of these other interesting quandaries in law where the state is in charge of elections by the Constitution. Like probation officers, we have to pay them, but yet it's the state's mandate.
Right.
So this is one of these interesting things that we're gonna be purchasing millions of dollars worth of equipment for a mandate upon us, so that's kind of a difficult legislative situation, but something.
Same thing with
The money to store them.
Yeah, exactly. We are having to look at a new storage facility for the equipment. Based on what our projections were for returning of money this year, we were roughly at $344,000 is what would be left over from this year. And that is with transferring a little bit to printing and so forth that we're running a little bit low on.
Yeah, it'd be wise to set that aside if this is what we're gonna be dealing with.
You'll never get to the $6 to $8 million by the system of transferring back. You can't get close to that thing.
Not by the time we need to start replacing that
Right,
equipment.
right.
We're trying to minimize the impact of the county, minimize the impact that, you know, when we come back to you asking for it. So
Yeah, you're gonna have to ask for millions to do that.
we're hoping that additional money will come available through the HAVA grant, the America Vote Act grant. And we, you know, we can stagger, not all equipment will have to be replaced at the exact same time. We can stagger some of that, try and lessen the impact of the financial impact that way. So, I mean, we've honestly explored every possibility we can find and lessen the impact of the county.
And with our continuing maintenance on the voting equipment, again, we take very good care of ours, making sure all the updates are always made, answers to it. 2026 is an estimate. We might be able to get another 5 years out of these. Then again, collecting that money over each year, it'll just help build it up so that it's not as big of a task at that time when we go to purchase. But we've got to start somewhere.
Oh, no, I wasn't questioning you on that. I just didn't see how the figures ever add up to this 8 million. You gotta get millions somewhere, millions of that.
We're always on the lookout for grants. Yeah.
And I'll just reinforce that they have been very good with their budget historically. The way we've performed the budget in the past, where we worked with a prior year budget, often that reflected we would budget for them a presidential election every year. And they acknowledge that and they wouldn't spend it in a non-presidential election year as a windfall. So they're very good with their budget. And even as demonstrated with the budget reform, they're acknowledging, even with the reform and the tighter budget, they're still trending at about a $300,000 surplus even with the reform. So that's just evidence of them being very mindful of their spending.
Yeah, my question wasn't aimed at suggesting they were not doing. We may have to look for the commissioner's salaries to get to millions, huh?
Yep.
And we've got a little bit of time, but it's got to be on our radar.
All right, any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good work. Ned, you're up.
Anything you want.
Yeah, you were ahead of schedule. You got a little more time.
Pretty simple. I mean, I think as far as the general fund goes, we ask for a 3% raise for all of our employees. Within that 3% raise, we did a small reorganization to accommodate a couple of the employees that really deserved it and didn't get weren't included in the reorganization from last year. It's all within the 3%. Got 2 open positions right now we're attempting to fill. We think we filled one of them. The planning position, which many of you know, Christina Kuzma left us, looking for a new planner. It would really be nice if we had a range. I know we talked about this many, many times, but within salaries to pay somebody, because Christina, with a master's degree and about 10 years of experience, is probably worth a lot more than a new planner coming in that just graduated from Ball State or somewhere else. But unfortunately, we're not allowed to do that. So,
Well, but I'll say, I've been here quite a long time. Departments can always come before this council and request increases for those and make your point, and we've all, you can always come before us.
it's an additional appropriation most of the times, and I don't like doing it, but
You don't like doing it, but doesn't mean we won't. Just saying.
Well, in that.
Okay.
Also, I've asked you to up a few of our, if you remember last year in February, I came to you for to increase several of our line items. They were all small increases, but they were decreased from the previous budget. I mean, it was like our office supplies was 896. Our advertising was 500. There was justification for all of them, 400 for maintenance service, 400 for maintenance and service, and 862 for our registration account. You approved those as additional appropriations. We're asking to keep that money in those lines. The non-reverting funds, the unsafe buildings fund and the zoning enforcement fund, we basically ask to with very, very minor modifications, we ask for you to fund those accounts to appropriate the monies similar to what we've done in the past. So we're looking at some professional services for a couple of new programs. One would be our community rating system for our special flood hazard areas. And the other would be an addendum of our contract for our UDO with our consultant to include rules for the Plan Commission and BZA. We're about to embark on a brand new ordinance effective October 1st. And that's going to require changes to our rules because there are a lot of new features in that ordinance. So in a nutshell, that's really the budget.
Question, Christine.
Yes.
On the building side of this, when was the last time that the fee structure was?
1980, I think, if memory serves me correctly, I'm old. I think 1985.
Is there an opportunity on the revenue side of this to just modernize that structure and get ourselves tightened up a bit on that?
Definitely can look into it. The last time we looked into it a few years ago, things seemed to be quite fair because when we did the original restructuring of those fees, it was probably a little bit in excess of what we should have done. But again, we hadn't done those since the ordinance was adopted sometime in the 1970s.
A fee structure that's almost 40 years old.
Yeah.
Probably is in need of some rethinking.
I mean, I don't mind doing that. I just don't like overcharging. So we need to take a look at, I think our fees are pretty much in line with others. I mean, certainly not with cities and towns.
I think you might be surprised when you look around that how far the county fees might be behind actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not Cedar Lake or St. John's.
I get that the duties are different, but fee structures should be modernized every so often.
I agree.
Look at the miscellaneous.
We'll take a look at that.
Yeah, thank you.
Then when you do that, do you hire a consultant to see if
No.
they're consistent with?
Like Councilman Dean just pointed out, we'll look at what the other cities and towns in our area are doing. Look at Porter County and take a look at what Bob Thompson does over there and try to generate something from that. If it's required, I mean, I don't like paying people to do things that we can do for ourselves.
Well, they're already paying. It's the people's money. I agree with you. And they shouldn't have to pay for majority of that, but there are service fees that are necessary. And from Ray's coaching me over the year, and I speak with Tom, we had to, no matter what we wanted to do, whether it was health department or anything, we had to do a study to justify, okay, this is what it's costing, because all taxpayers shouldn't pay for a specific taxpayer. So there's certain things that have to have fees, but it has to be a study done to show that that is the exact cost to government. Otherwise, we shouldn't have an increase. That's just my opinion on it.
No, that's the way it's been.
I think we're gonna get some pretty healthy fees from the solar project, and more recently, right now, we're working on the building permit fees for the cold storage facility, which going to be, you may be hearing from them by the time we apply those fees in their building. So
Yeah, the idea of reviewing the building fees like that isn't a profit generator. It's about covering cost.
Right.
Cost of administration of government has gone up, so you don't want to shift that burden to the general tax base and in the levy. You want the growth to pay for itself. So that's the only reason I kind of bring that up is there's some.
That's a good point. We'll take a look at that, and if a consultant needs to be hired, if we can't get through it ourselves, we'll entertain that. We've got some money in our zoning enforcement fund, and we could probably use that. I know. What are you gonna, don't take it.
Thank you, Ned.
Thank you.
It's right. Okay, soil and water. Jason's here, weights and measures.
Good morning.
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 Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Julie Dellinger with Lake County Soil and Water, and I'm here with my supervisor, Lyle Pageant, and he's passing out our annual report. Every year we do it. It just showcases what we do.
Thank you.
Through the year. And we we showcase the county with, working with the public from the shores of Lake Michigan to the Grand Kankakee River, teaching about natural resources. And then we also work with our farmers and the communities on promoting healthy soils and clean water. So our budget for 2024, we did meet with Scott and Victoria, and they kind of told us about how they're crunching figures, and with the 27th payroll, we decided we're going to just go status quo. And hopefully with the 3% increase across the board, that should give us enough of a boost for the 24 budget. So
All right,
thank you
appreciate
so
the
much.
cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you for all your support.
Lee, I just want to thank you for attending that meeting with me the other day. We had a great meeting, I think. We're moving in the right direction. This is on vertical gardening, indoor gardening. It's, man, I'm real excited about it. Judge Stefaniak came in and we could really do a lot of good things here, I hope. Thank you again. Thank you.
You're welcome so much.
Be
Yeah,
meeting again here shortly.
exactly. Be in communications. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. Jason, veterans?
Morning.
Morning.
I did take some time Friday to stop by and put my annual report in each one of your mailboxes, so I hope you guys got that.
Yes.
Again, the numbers that I'm throwing out for 2024 are just that, numbers. I'm happy to take whatever is on the budget, but I do want to let you guys know how insanely busy we are in that office. Right now I have 2 full-time service officers. I just hired another full-time. There's going to be a significant learning curve before he's doing any claims. Myself and Brian are both taking 5 appointments a day, 5 days a week, filing over 200 claims a month just in person that sit down across from us. You can see from our numbers, August of 2022, we were sitting around 94-ish in-office appointments, plus another maybe 5 or 6 phone claims here. August of 23, we did 148 211 sit-down appointments and 82 phone claims. If we continue the pace where we're at for 23, we're going to exceed, I think, 2022 by at least 95%.
Jason, it's safe to say that we're going to have to make these adjustments. I'm going to ask the council to support these adjustments for the simple reason is as our veterans are returning, there's more and more benefits that are good benefits that they're being educated and let them know what's available to them. So we're going to see an increase in claims, I think, as we have from Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, and we're going to see, and I think the VA is doing a better job of educating the soldier, letting the airmen know that this is what's going on, this is what you're entitled to. It's going to be our obligation.
But those are bare bones.
We have the resource to help process those claims as they're making them.
That's bare bones information that they get, that when they come and sit down with us, there's definitely more in-depth. You got to look at the stuff that was happening in Hawaii a couple of years ago with the contaminated water. I'm sure that's going to mimic what Camp Lejeune is. Right. The PACT Act adding 796,000 claims to the VA system.
McClellan.
We're at over 1 million claims in the VA system right now. You look at our numbers as far as the 16 counties in Lake County. We're the second highest population next to Marion. That's a given. But even on numbers on compensation and pension, you look at St. Joe, they got 14,000. They're only pulling in 56 mil for comp and pen. We're pulling in 109.21 and then 133.9 for 2022. $133 million in compensation and pension for 25,000 veterans. We're doing significant work in our office.
Oh, absolutely.
I do look forward to next year's GDF reports because I want to see the population compared to 22 versus comp and pen. That won't be available until April, May of next year. But no, we're doing. Again, I'm not too happy with the office space because the new VSO is basically in a closet. But that's something we can discuss later.
Commissioner Lee, repeat.
Yeah, he left. He was coming in.
I've already been in communication with Delbert. He's been talking to the architects to see what we can do back there, but
You know, Jason, would it be best, maybe we just talk, and so where we're at right now, it would be nice if we had that door open for, because a lot of our veterans are coming, they're wheelchair bound. They're coming there for services because they are injured, they have a handicap. But maybe we had to look at maybe moving it into the other building, maybe by the health department or something in that, you know?
I am open for any discussion to make it easier for people to find us and get to our office.
Yeah.
Along with the adequate office space. I can't hire a VSO and then do interviews in the cafeteria when we're talking about medical issues, military sexual trauma, personal information that shouldn't be discussed the same way the prosecutor's office can talk about legal issues in the hallway or in the cafeteria.
No, that you should respect that veteran. He shouldn't be explaining his mental disposition in front of 20 other people that he doesn't know. That's not fair to him. We don't do it to prisoners, but we'll do it to a veteran. That's bullshit.
I am more than open to take any questions, concerns about the office.
Just
No.
impressed with what you're doing. It's amazing. I mean, honestly, it's fantastic work.
I mean, I purposely started taking those numbers. I can go back to 2019, I can go back to 2018 because they weren't being done at that time. And I wanted to be able to show the impact that we're having. You know, you and I both know DAV comes down here and they're doing 130 claims on that Thursday. But the difficult part with that is they're coming out of the VBA from Chicago. That aftercare, that follow-up with those service officers is almost impossible. You can't catch John Rodriguez at the Chicago VA. That's the difference between our office and what they do there. You know where I'm at. You have a face as your representative for the county. You know where you can go to ask questions. Oh, I heard at the VFW, blah, blah, blah. No, that might be that case, but it's circumstantial.
That's awesome that we
Yeah.
have,
So-
we should have the best service. We should be #1 in the state.
You know, unfortunately, I am booking out into October for appointments right now, but that is 50, what I say, 200 a month.
Well, I see the commissioners are back, so I imagine they'll be asking for some money for that build out. They'll probably need some extra funding.
Still waiting
for
to hear
that.
back from the architect to even get an idea of what we're looking at. But I'm trying to make do with what we have, but I don't want to make do. Quite honestly, I don't want to make do with what we have. I want to make better than what we've had. I used to have kiosks, I used to have computer access. Now I have people that can't print stuff out like benefits letters for property tax, disabled plates. I don't have the space in that office for a computer for a veteran to use. I don't even have a space for a waiting area inside the office. They're waiting in the hallway because that office is too small and it echoes and reverberates every single noise from a phone ringing to a fax coming in. It's just not feasible.
We understand the plight and I can tell you, we'll help out.
I've been convinced myself.
Have space concerns. When you come to the council meeting, we had a meeting like 12 days ago and you didn't say, hey, my space is too small.
I'm addressing.
So it's kind of a little bit.
Well, first of all,
here, when I
Commissioner Tippy knows about it.
okay, Mr. Timmy,
Well-
but as I mentioned it.
Okay.
Attention as well, when I was bringing the third VSO on, you said make do with what you have right now. Don't worry about the office space.
Did you give a third VSO?
I did.
Where, and you brought them in, you said, here, I need a space for them. That's what I told them to do.
You guys
I said,
signed
I'll
off.
give the third one on, tell me where.
You guys signed off on the new hire paperwork.
Okay,
The point is, it's not the proper balance for it.
I'm talking.
and neither is that discussion.
I'm talking
So
about
if we could move
this
on,
that
if
we
we
have
could
right
move on with the meeting. Any questions for Jason?
No,
right.
Jason would just, we're gonna help and, if we need to get the additional, we understand the needs. And,
This was not to
we'll
throw
find,
any shade. This was simply addressing the current
No, I
status of
understand.
our office for 2023 going into
I
24.
understood.
That's-
And
I'm not trying to.
Even I understand, so.
if we need finances,
I'm not trying to do. No.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
All right, weights and measure?
So.
Anyone? Yeah.
Hello and good morning.
Morning.
Lacey Robinson. I'm the Director of Weights and Measures. In regards to our budget this year, we are asking for an increase within the wages, but that would just be the standard budget. If you guys decide to give that to the county, we would be asking for that 3%, and that would be due to the recent events in regards to inflation, the cost of the benefits, and as well to retain the staff that I have at this time. I did ask for a request that was more than 3% for 2 of my employees. I have received a request to increase my administrative assistant's salary. She has been with the department for 17 years. She would want you to consider that. And that she has also received her associate's degree in administration. She would like for you guys to consider that. She did ask for a 10% salary increase raise, but I'm not asking you all for that. I'm just asking you to consider. I put
Her
between 5
achievements.
and 6, yes. Also, the other employee that I am considering a raise for would be my lead inspector. When I became the director of weights and measures in 2020, they had made him the lead inspector, but they have not been paying him for that position. So in regards, and the difference between the field inspector and he does train different staff. He does go to different trainings for the state. He also assists with me doing different policies because he's in the field more than me. He also inspects the field inspector inspections to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. As well as to those increases, I did ask for an equipment request for equipment repair. We did ask for some vehicles, but we haven't received them yet. This far, we have almost maxed out our budget in regards to that. And like now we have a vehicle that needs repairs in the thousands, but we only have $628 available.
Was that, pardon me, Chair, if I have a question, was, and the vehicles, I remember we talked about it last year.
Yes.
Is that at least, Commissioner Reapy, since you're here, is that, we want to throw, are you wanting, is the commissioner looking to put everybody on leases for the vehicles?
Yeah, it's not a lease purchase, it's production, right? Like,
Right.
we're waiting on, and we.
The equipment to be mailed in. Yeah, we don't.
Right, there's,
I mean.
yeah, the computer chip shortage and everything else, right? I don't either, right,
But you're saying you need additional costs for those repairs.
We
You need additional funds
funding
for that.
until
those
we get our
repairs.
new vehicle so we can maintain the repairs.
understood.
And then also I asked for increase for our travelage when we go to our conventions. Every year it seems like it's getting a little bit more expensive, and I have added a new inspector. So we're fully staffed. And last year, I think it was in like 1,700. So I'm asking for 2,000 just to make sure that we're all covered when we go to our conventions. Other than that, I didn't. I'm fine with everything that we do have, and I just will ask you guys to consider some of the changes that I'm.
Anyone have any questions?
I have one, something I'm clear on. We're talking about leasing vehicles as opposed to purchase. They have I've been leasing since 1974. You have to be very careful of the mileage when you lease a vehicle. You will pay penalties at the end.
It's not a traditional lease, it's a.
Lease purchase.
It's a lease purchase, it's
Okay,
government lease, so it's not a mileage thing. I'm glad you brought it up though, because it's a common thing among different department heads and whatnot. They're like, where do I take this leased vehicle? Like, don't think, they shouldn't think of it that way. They should think of it like an asset.
Okay.
As opposed to mileage.
Thanks, Mike. Hey, good clarity.
Okay,
I'll take care of it.
thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good-
Mike,
It's regretting.
see if you come to our meetings anymore, huh?
I said he was gonna stop coming.
Okay, Superior Court.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Senior Judge John Cedia, Lake Superior Court Civil Division, and this is Judge L.A.D.O.S of our division. We also have Ms. Anna Frankhauer-Schmidt here from our Resources Office. As you can see, nothing unusual or exciting in our budget request. Pretty much, we wanted to adhere to the 3%. Pretty much our cum cap is the same, and most of our other line items are going to remain the same. The only additional increase would be for secretary office managers positions. We're requesting an increase in the base salary greater than the 3%, basically because of the work they do. They manage offices, they have to do statistics, they have to coordinate among the employees. And we felt as judges that would warrant an additional, perhaps a bump up in their base. And that's really basically it. I just want to say that it's a pleasure working with Scott and Tori in putting this together. They've been very cooperative with us. They've worked with us to get us what we need, which is somewhat modest. And of course, our liaison, Councilman Hammond, who's carried water for us for a long time and has really helped us get through the process. As I said many times, if I had to do this for a living, I'd end up in Logansport City. Appreciate all the assistance I get from the county council and from the budget office. So if you have any questions, we're here to answer them for you.
Anyone? Nope.
Well, I appreciate Judge. We had a great discussion. I think Pete, Councilman Pete came in with this and very informative, and I'm very happy with everything that you presented.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
All right then.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Bye-bye.
Anna, good to see you.
It's good to see all of you
Yeah.
again after all that time.
Yes. Circuit Court, they're not here yet. Court Administrator, not here. Fairgrounds.
Come on.
Come on up.
Good to see you, you mind.
He did, he did that pretty quick.
Learning, this is the first time for me. Good morning, everybody.
Hi, Judge.
Judge Sam Kappas on behalf of the Criminal Division. We have a few in our budget requests. One is the 3% for everybody. We have a criminal probation secretary who's short about $400 from other secretaries if we could get her salary to match. Then our big ticket item is a commissioner, a secretary, and a bailiff. We think that our position to request that is merited by just the numbers in the increase of criminal cases, the increase in criminal cases. In 1995, there were approximately 1,759 criminal cases filed. Last year, there was 4,038. So we have more than double the amount of criminal cases that we have when we first got our 6 judicial positions, 4 judges, 2 magistrates. We're asking for another commissioner now. We went downstate to try to get a magistrate. We are number 41 on the list of magistrate in line. And I've got emails to substantiate that if you need those.
We believe you.
Thank you.
That's important, Judge. You and I discussed it. That's important to state that they've done everything possible. And the way they're doling these out is we're 41st and 41st in line.
Right. So we tried to save the county money by going downstate, but we just can't get it done. But in the long term, we think this may end up saving the county money because if we have another judicial position, we can process criminal cases more efficiently and quickly, which would result in getting people out of the jail. Now we've got an increase in the jail population that's higher than it's been in a long time. Of course, that's extra staffing, food, medical, all kinds of stuff like that. Extrajudicial officer, we can have more hearings. We can have what's called criminal rule 26 hearings, get the indigent, nonviolent people out of the jail faster, bond reduction hearings. All these things could be processed faster. Can I guarantee that that number is going to drop in the jail? No. I mean, I don't know what, but it'll certainly help chip away at it. So that's what we're here asking for. And other stuff that's on our proposal. And I want to thank Councilman Bilski and Attorney O'Donnell for sending that letter downstate to the legislature so we can get that GPS thing. That'd be a great tool if we could use it, but our hands are tied with that. I think I explained that. But any questions?
I don't understand the motivation downstate with our legislators, why they would I mean, I know they don't want, I know the mantra is, be hard on crime, well, you can be hard on crime and still release the nonviolent offender and not hold the judge liable if the guy decides to go do a stick up.
Yeah, I don't know if there was supposed to be an incentive to induce us to follow the procedure so strictly. I don't know what the motivation behind that was, but it didn't
It backfired.
work. It didn't work.
It didn't work.
It's a statewide problem too, not just Lake County, it's a statewide problem.
It's,
And Judge, you're using, ma'am?
Yeah.
Judge, you're using the contract out of, where is it?
We're using the ICU monitoring contract. Is that what you're asking me, Councilman?
yeah.
Yeah.
We use it for nonviolent people, nonviolent offenders.
So you're using the one that's local.
Mr. Smith's.
Right, Mr. Smith, but it's community corrections that's.
I don't know what they do. They have somebody different.
That's got nothing to do with you.
They're Department of Corrections.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you and I are on the same page.
Right.
We sit down and discuss. But the three things that were very important, I had a judge approach me before, and I was, in the past, I don't want to get into names, it offended me. You have gone to the state legislature. You have waited until the budget process. I appreciate everything that you've done.
Sure.
You've been involved.
Well,
it's great.
Thank you. We didn't know how to do it, and I appreciate your guidance on it too, because I'm not familiar with the procedure that much.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But no, thank you. And I myself, I told you, I see the necessity. I think there's a possibility, and I used the word, not possibility, that it could reduce jail population. I can't guarantee that either, but I think it's worth a shot.
It would certainly contribute to it for sure.
And
We've
what
been
about,
promised it'll cut. We've been promised a lot of things that'll.
Judge, what about, okay, did you ever find out about the grand jury courtroom? You're gonna look, are you gonna wait until after?
Ask for a new building. Yeah, that space between the A and B buildings out there, we could, we'll figure out places to put, rooms that we need.
I like it, Sam. At least the judge with a sense of humor.
That was a nice jab. Very good.
That was a, yeah.
So Judge, are you conducting criminal 26 hearings now? Or no?
The magistrates are.
The magistrates are, okay.
We have them 3 days a week. We can go to 5.
Okay. So you want to increase that?
Yeah, we can increase the amount of hearings that we have with another body.
All right, anything else for?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a statement. Initially, when I heard about this commissioner being paid for, or magistrate by the county, pretty much I used a formula, which would have meant I would have had to vote no. I had an extended conversation with Judge Kappas, and we've known each other a long time. I'm somewhat older than him. I'm along probably with his father in a way. But I agreed, after listening, and he sent me a lot of papers, and I explained to Mr. Smith, I'm not his attorney nor anyone else. The judge sent me a great many papers. I think I'd have had to be an attorney to even understand half of the stuff. So I certainly will be voting for him to get the new commissioner. And I know this may not be the proper time to say it, but I certainly had a lot of conversation with him, and I appreciate the fact that he called me. Probably my answer would have remained no had he not called me, and given me a great deal of information about how he had went downstate and they had failed to do it. I didn't realize he was that far behind. I thought some county, Jasper, or somebody had to release theirs.
Well, that's the concept, but we're 41st in line for that.
Yeah, okay. You never told me. That's even worse. You never told me that. But either way, certainly, Judge. Again, we disagreed on that one statute. Mr. Bilski found it hard for an attorney to disagree with a judge. I disagreed with what Thurgood Marshall did when he recused himself. Also disagreed with what Bob Rucker did, who was my law partner, in terms of the decision he made in Chicago. And we talked about it afterwards, not before. So again, I will disagree from time to time, but I certainly respect you as an individual and as a judge.
Thank you, Councilman.
Just different opinions, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. No, appreciate the phone call as well.
You're very welcome. Anything I can do.
Any other questions for Judge? All right, thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. If you need anything further, please don't hesitate to contact me.
All right. Circuit Court. Oh, Vera's here. Okay. Come on up, Vera.
Yeah, I think that's.
On the last one. Morning, Council members. Judge, regrets not being here. She heard she was needed in court this morning, but she did want me to express her gratitude to the council for over the last 6 years, being able to strengthen the circuit court there through employees and all the other items needed, furniture and electronics and such, so that our asks this year are very, very minor. We're asking through QCAP for $11,000 for some upgraded equipment and through some travel items for dues and subscriptions to be increased to $5,000 and registration to be increased to $3,000. Other than that, we're fine.
Okay.
They're great to work with, you and Marissa both.
You mentioned pay increases.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
3 points around there, but.
Thank you, Vera.
Okay,
Thank you. All right, Court Administrator, Marty's online.
Morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Hello.
Hello.
Marty Goldman, I'm the Court Administrator, Department 3003 this year. We have very limited requests this year on our budget. We do have a 5% across the board for the position budgets, both our 001 and 210 accounts. On the departmental side, things get a little interesting this year in that we're requesting a return to pre-COVID levels of office supplies. It broke us down to almost $700. We're asking for an increase just to bring us back so we can purchase some items that we're unable to do so this year. We're asking for an increase in the law book account, our Westlaw account. It covers all 35 judicial officers. The Westlaw account is their gateway to legal research. And we entered into a contract this year, which is a 5-year contract, and there are mandatory increases each year. And the increase that they gave us for this year over last year was significant. So we're going to see significant increases moving forward on a monthly basis on our law book account, the Westlaw account. So we're asking for funding for that. I do have some good news for you. I was working with Scott, and we had determined that there is a balance in our 210 jury fund. And if we were to reduce our 001 request for 2024, we can draw down our 210 account so that it's at a reasonable level. I think we haven't used it in a while. We used to pay staff out of that in the jury office, but now we moved that back to the 001. So that fund has a significant balance, which we can reduce by at least $100,000 next year, giving you some additional 001 money available. So that's good news. Other than that, that's the extent of our 001 requests. On the 210 side of things, we're requesting an increase in maintenance and service to address the replacement of an office machine. Our lease is ending on our copier printer, which does everything for us, all of the summons, all of the notices, all of the postcards that we send out. That lease is ending, so we're going to be looking into another 3 to 5 year lease on a printer for next year. And again, the per diem is going to be increased. We're going to request an appropriation increase on that, just so that we have the money available that to draw down off of for next year. I think we'll be fine, but that pretty much concludes my. I do want to thank Scott and Tori for all their help during this difficult budget season. Just trying to get the budgets submitted and having the questions answered about how we would draw down the 210 and reduce our 001 request for this year only. We're going to need that money again next year, but we're going to be able to reduce it this year to give you some flexibility. That's it.
All right.
Madam Chair, I did have one question. How much is in the 210 account? You guys will throw out and says money there, but you never.
$222,000.
222,000. Thank you. I assume that's in all these figures here somewhere.
Yeah, it's on page 21.
That's good.
Okay.
Marty, just stay close because when we need it next year, let's remind everybody now.
Yeah, we will need that appropriation again because we draw it down and it has to build back up. So this may be something that we can do, say, every other year to reduce the 001 request that we have. So it's a big deal. And I thank you, Scott, for noticing that and informing us. And we're working with Judge C.A.S.A to determine if this is something that we wanted to do 2024 and moving forward. And he agreed that it was something that we should be doing.
All right.
Thanks, Marty.
Good news. Thank you. Anyone else have
everybody.
any questions? All right. Have a good day, Marty. Thank you.
Take care.
I don't think we have anyone else. Anybody have anything?
105.
Who's sitting behind? Who's sitting over there?
Gary.
Oh, Carrie.
I'm sure I should go ahead and take our break and reconvene at 1 p.m.
Yep.
Or 1 to 5 p.m., 1 p.m.
Do we need a motion or just a directive
Break for
to
lunch, make a
break?
motion to break for lunch.
All right.
Seconded.
Take a recess?
Aye.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Me, Seymour.
Great article.
I didn't see it. I always have trouble logging into the post. I don't know why.
Well, here's the only question, everybody's got to raise it.
Well, our gold quotient is 4%, so let's see,
Right through it.
yeah, so I don't.
Right there was like 0%.
Hard to say, it depends what the school council wants to do,
What are you talking about for?
with all the other requests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all the other requests.
To make,
Oh, seriously.
I think you get it, Carrie, with it. We're having a hard time finding.
That's why I'm asking.
$5 salary.
That's why I'm asking.
So we have to bump up to make it a job that expires too, but
It's an ordinance.
I don't know, that doesn't seem to work and,
Well,
and.
Well, it did with the dispatchers, you know, we.
There was a
really got
second,
lined up
there
and
was.
hoped-
All right,
That's good. That's cool.
all right, ready, back in session. What do we have? Fairgrounds, parks? Ready? Come on,
Good afternoon.
good afternoon.
You'll see our budget request in front of you. We did our best to hold to the 3%. We made some adjustments, held some line items steady, cut a couple, trying to give everyone a 3% and a few of our individuals a bit more to get them more in line with the actual work they're doing compared to other managers within the department. We were doing really, really well. And then we calculated group insurance and everything kind of went to hell. And we were talking with Scott prior to this, and I think we can figure out some ways to get it back down and more in level. But essentially, it's the appropriation for this, the current appropriation plus 3% here and there. We'll see how it pans out. You know, utilities we pay for from the 107 operating, the 117 non-reverting, and we know NIPSCO is going to go up 10%. That'll be an issue. So in the end, that's the long and the short. Any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, anybody got any questions? All right.
And
thank
if
you.
not, give me a call, you know, we can do it.
Do we have your number? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Not hard.
867-5309.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
No, make it 555. Nobody has.
That's a better idea.
Movies, nobody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Nobody, prosecutor?
Fairgrounds?
Oh, you're online. Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. In reference to our general fund 1001, I'm looking to add a full-time position at $40,560 for the year. Reason for that is we have a large amount of things going on at the fairgrounds, need more help during the evenings when we have events, a lot more events going on. We have a new roof that we put on the Fine Arts building, and now we can utilize that building. It has been dormant for a couple years. So that's the reason for the added position. Also on general fund would be 3% raise for all the employees. Office supplies, looking for a total of $800, which would increase 420. Petroleum, 20,000 total, asking for $2,000 more due to the unknown fluctuation of what fuel is going to cost. Other supplies, we're asking for $3,000 more for a total of 15,000. That's for paint, different house accounts, Napa, O'Reilly, tires, etc. Maintenance and service contracts, asking for a total of 18,000. That's a increase of $2,000. That's for dumpster service, trees, portable bathrooms, help with the lake and the pumps, and tree service as far as anything to do with trees and trimming of trees and taking care and maintenance of that. And that would be it in the general fund that we're asking for. And in the non-reverting 1131 fund, under other supplies, looking for an upgrade of $2,000 to a total of 12,000. Improvements, need a $10,000 hike to 40,000. As you know, we have a lot of picnic tables, different things that need to be maintained and improved. We have over 250, 300 tables, and quite a few of them need to be replaced, which we buy the lumber, we actually replace them ourselves. And that is all I have.
Okay, any questions?
What was the bottom line? Money you're asking for?
What was the bottom line?
Yes, sir.
Their total increase that you're asking for in your budget.
Well, give me a second, I'll add it up.
It's on here somewhere.
That's okay if you don't have it. That's okay.
I can add it up real quick.
There's some pretty position with salaries put on 75.
So it's like a retitle.
Madam Chair, you can go on. I don't have to have
You're
that.
good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This is helpful. Over here, I looked for a page number. There's a way to do a page number over there. Mine's got it. Yours doesn't have it. Let me have George. Oh, there it is. There's a page number.
You just drag it.
Yeah, but
Oh, no.
I wouldn't know what paper it is. Oh,
6 is the first.
that's what I was looking for. Go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Good
Prosecutor.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I think all of you had an opportunity to meet Jacob, and everyone knows Barb.
Jacob, we've grilled him a lot.
Is that right? Oh, man.
Absolutely.
He can handle it too.
Yeah, he's done a good
He's
job.
very dapper and all that.
Yeah.
He does.
Yes.
Like the tie.
Bob Newmeyer retired and Jacob has taken his place, and he's done a fantastic job for us, for the office, and for each and every employee who works for us too, in terms of dealing with him and our requests and what goes on in our office. So I just appreciate you, Jacob, and thank you for joining our team. We're requesting a 5% increase in salary. You know, one of the reasons why we're requesting 5% is, and I've said this before, I think to some extent, our deputies and many of our support staff are very qualified individuals who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get their degree to come to work for us. So kind of unlike, and I'm not saying anything about any other county official, but it's almost like a pathologist. You know, we have to hire a pathologist. We have to pay money for that pathologist because of that training and that education that person has. So I've always said to the council is that I would like some kind of understanding between our office and the council that we do have
individuals have in excess of $100,000, and I know the attorneys who are in the room know this very well, in excess of $100,000 to change, and many of them are loans. It's just not, the parents are not paying for it, they didn't pay for it, they got loans. And the average person, when we hire them, about $150,000 a year loans that they have outstanding. My son works in our office too, and he has $200,000 loans. So you know, it's not, the parents aren't paying for these loans. I'm not paying for it. He had to take his own loans out and handle his legal education. So they come to us with some, I was talking to one of our deputies, $1,000 a month is what they pay. Now it's in deferment, so that's pretty good. It's supposed to start up next month, but $1,000 a month. And then the same deputy I was talking to has 2 kids and saying, oh, it's $1,800 a month for childcare. You know, and I know everyone has childcare problems, so that, but in reference to the attorneys that work for us, it's hard for us to keep good attorneys if we can't pay them the competitive wages. And you know, we hire people who have no college education, high school education come on. I can understand that person, but when you hire these qualified lawyers, you got to keep them. The state of Indiana Prosecuting Attorneys Association is having a difficult time getting throughout the state. And I go to those state meetings, and we're always talking about we can't keep good people. But one of the interesting things about our office is we're behind on our salaries throughout the state. The starting salary for most are $74,000. Yeah, our starting salary is 64. Yeah, 64.8. That's $10,000, and believe me, these attorneys will leave for $10,000 and more. Many of them go for the child, what's CPS, child services. Yeah. Yeah, child services. Yeah, $100,000. They leave us at 70, and they've been here for a while, and they go work for Child Protective Services and get $100,000, $90,000. That's what they're paying. They got a big state increase. If you're not aware of it, and we lose our lawyers to individuals like that because they can go over there and make $20,000 more, and I don't mind saying do a lot less. But we work hard, and we try to protect the citizens of Wake County. So that's when we ask for the 5%. I don't mean to be disrespectful asking for 5 when there's a suggestion of 3% that we should be asking for. We talked about it, and we just need some additional funding for our deputies to keep good deputies. And the bad part about it is our deputies don't leave to go to private practice, but you never can stop that. If you want to aspire to be a private lawyer and work for a law firm, go do it. But they're leaving to go to another prosecutor's office. And then when we question them very detailed, and many of them we just love, they say, Vernon, it's nothing about the office and nothing about the work we're doing. I love what we're doing. I have to take care of my family. I need the money. This is $15,000 more and less work. Because many of the counties aren't pumping out the cases that we pump out in the types of cases we have. Other than Marion County, we're like right up there with the homicide cases and with very serious felony cases. So that's why we make that request in all due respect. We also requested 2 new positions, an IT position and administrative director. Administrative director would be right here for Jacob. And as I mentioned, he's doing a fantastic job for us, and he really saves us money with his intellect and what he does. So we're trying to create 2 new positions, and those are what, exempt positions?
Yes.
For them?
Yes, they would be salary, so working over 40 hours average a week.
Weekends and nights and stuff like this. Similar to our deputies too, they do the same thing, and I know the public defender's office have the same problem with their professional employees. They have, it's hard to keep good people when other counties and other individuals can pick off of them because of another 10,000 or whatever the case may be. So we just actually try to stay competitive. And this is long-term with me in terms of you can't do it now. We'll work with you for the next 2-3 years because we know at the end, I think we'll get kind of what we need to operate that office. We're requesting a minimal salary of our employees also of $33,500 to meet the MIT living wage calculation for a single individual without child, $33,000. Now we have in most of our offices somewhat near that. And this would apply to child support. Would it apply to child support?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, child support. And we should be there in child support because the average salary in the state of Indiana prosecutor's office is $47,000 for child support caseworkers. $47,000. And ours are making about 33, 32, some of them 30. Yeah. So we should not have that disparity in addition to that. Lastly, in an attempt to offset some of the costs that we're asking for, and particularly the IT positions, we can save money by decreasing the part-time line item, as well as several of our purchasing items, and we have done that, and we kind of indicated that if you can see our request, and we've cut that by 133,765 monies that will go back to the county. In addition, we have one deputy who's in the military at this time, and his salary, he won't be back till September, so that salary will be returned back to the county. In addition to that, we probably returned about 200-some thousand.
I believe about approximately 240,000 for this year.
Total.
Yeah, through
Yes.
open deputy positions. That's not even including purchasing line items or support staff.
So Madam Chair, we're willing to work with you at any rate that we can, and certainly we do understand that we get a little bit here, a little bit there, and the end result will be, I think our people will be satisfied.
Well, I appreciate, you looking within your budget to try to help offset any increases. So I thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions for the prosecutor?
I did. I'm not sure. What happens in that homicide group? Is that inside?
Yeah, I tell you, with that homicide, it's a good question. We're very proud of the homicide group that we have now established. And what comes with that also is that we've assembled, and we're in the process of assembling a countywide homicide unit. So if a homicide occurs in Lowell, Munster, whatever, that unit will respond. Presently, most of those departments take care of their own. We've talked to all the chiefs of police. They like that idea because they'll get expert services, they get quick services. Instead of having 4 or 5 of your people in your investigative unit there on the scene, they could have as many as 20, 25. So that's what we're trying to accomplish, and we're doing that. We have one attorney who kind of heads it up, Tim Brown from our office, and then we have a number of employees from detectives from Gary, the Indiana State Police, and we've had conversation with the governor office, and he's been extremely helpful with the city of Gary and with our entire concept of our homicide unit. And what he has done through the Indiana superintendent is given us 2. We just found out we're going to get a 3rd state police assigned to that unit full-time, and 1 excise officer with that unit. So we have 4 individuals that the governor of Indiana has given us for that unit, and that helps us out to such a great extent. We utilize the Lake County Sheriff's Department Crime Lab. It's going to be a fantastic and something that you won't see in most parts of the country in terms of the unit that we're assembling. In addition to that, we talked to
money in. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Is the money in the budget?
No, money's not in that budget for that. We've been trying to do it on our own with our own manpower. That is something that we perceive eventually having at least 2 of our own detectives or our own investigators work that unit likewise. We have what they call the high-tech crime unit, which is a unit funded by the state of Indiana. We are Purdue, in conjunction with Purdue, we have a location in Purdue. And what they do is they go to the crime scenes and they get all the tablets, all cell phones, all computers, and they can immediately download those. I'm talking within an hour. Where now, we have to wait maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But they would be able to do it immediately, and they're doing it now. So that unit's up and running.
And Gary is providing manpower to this unit?
Yes, they are. At one point, they were giving us 5, 6. Now they have some, they're down to 3 because they have some, and they're going to go back up to 6 as soon as they get their patrol units all in line and things of that nature. Because they had a change in chief of police, and they're putting more police officers on the streets. And with that change, they're making some movement. Good. So eventually, we'll probably have about 15, 16 assigned unit individuals in that unit. The sad part about it is, and I'll say it publicly, and it's just how I feel in my heart, not one of them is a woman. All those detectives and all those people in this fine unit, so we're wanting a female in that unit. They're hard to find.
But you're the head. Why is it hard to find? If you're the head, go find one.
Yeah.
Or 2. Yeah, what about?
Well, we have to recruit some out of another department or something, not Lake County Department for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad that, you know, they don't have detectives on that level that can be put into that unit. We could train one. We'll take a patrolman and train her. Seriously. And I say that to all the chiefs too. I didn't make no bones about it. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong.
Well, we probably don't have that many female
No, we
officers
don't.
as well.
Absolutely. That's correct.
Throughout the county.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
I'm sure you said a brief question for a prosecutor. Bernie, I just had a question. Would you give us the stat on the salaries and the comparability across the other 91 counties?
Yes.
Pardon me, my voice. Okay. Is that, do all prosecutors, do they all have defined benefits the same as us? Are we in complete parity with them, so they're provided?
Yeah, they have perf and they have the vacation time and all that. Yes, they do.
Same healthcare, same out of pocket as us? I mean,
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they do.
because I mean, when we draw a perfect picture, we need to make sure that they get the same amount of vacation time, holiday time,
Absolutely.
as well as insurance that we
Absolutely.
provide, and then the difference is what it is, you know?
Absolutely. And like I mentioned, our attorney, I'm not saying that just because we're in that office, I mean, they work hard. And in many other counties, they don't have the caseload that we have. You know, some of them have 40, 50 cases a year.
But when you have counties that there's the size of some of our towns.
Absolutely.
It's understandable.
Yeah. That's true.
Right on. Thank you. That's it.
All right. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Oh, did that include 4D? Did you guys want to go over 4D? Thank you.
It's gonna be the 5% and
Okay,
33.5 minimum as well.
okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Public defender, you're up, Mars.
That's great. Maybe a while.
Good afternoon.
No, that's been.
For the benefit of the newest members, our office is somewhat unique here in Lake County Public Defender's Office. We bring back 40% of what we spend, including benefits, retirement, insurance, so that in 2022, we brought back 2.5 million. In this year, we'll bring back 2.6. Next year, 2.7 or 2.8. And how do we do that? Well, we have to be in compliance with the Indiana Public Defender Commission. We have to abide by their rules and their recommendations. And one of the rules that we have to abide by are caseload numbers. Okay, and so what happens is our office is reactive to Mr. Carter's office. The more cases that Mr. Carter files, the more that we have to work, the more people that we have to hire. In 2024, the State Public Defender Commission is changing the way that caseloads are counted, and it's unbelievable, but it doesn't matter how many pending cases I have. I could have 100, but they're counting the caseloads per quarter. So they're not looking at the amount of cases I already have. It's what are the new cases, what are the new cases. So this year, Lake County is a pilot county. We're a test county, and we have been engaging in the new formula this year. And so this is why I can tell you what I'll need next year, because all things being equal, I worked it out with the State Public Defender Commission, their lawyers, and I can tell you we will need 4 new overflow lawyers. Now, these are not salaried lawyers. These are contract lawyers, 1 for each of the 4 felony courtrooms. We normally start them out at $45,000, but I'm asking for $35,000 because they won't start with a full caseload. They'll get the overflow cases as they go. By state statute, they get paid $100 an hour, and they bill against the contract that I'm asking. So we need 4 of those positions to be able to bring you back the 40% or the 2.5, 2.6 million a year. So remember, whatever I'm asking for is reduced by 40%. Okay. Additionally, as I say, we react to the state, to the prosecutor's caseloads, and I have 32 contract lawyers currently, and there are so many cases that are being filed by the state that we're going to not have enough money in our line item to pay them. So what I did was I met with the State Public Defender Commission and asked for a one-time exception, and they're giving me, they're letting me take, we have some extra money in, Fund, what is it, 1-4?
1405.
1405 is supplemental public defender fund. We have some additional money and we're going to be able to take, we're going to ask the council coming up soon, but we have permission from the State Public Defender Commission to take $180,000 from that line item and transfer it to our other fund that we pay the contract people out. And we're going to need that. And part of the reason why we need that, and we're short this year, and Scott will tell you, when we met last year, that line item was reduced by $640,000. Okay, and the reason that line item was large is because you always gave us a cushion for a death penalty case, $400,000 approximately in the event there was a death penalty case. There haven't been any. But additionally, we had that other $200,000 that was there to take care of situations like this when we need to pay extra contract lawyers. But we gave that all back to the county with the understanding that something like this might happen. We may have to ask for money as it's needed. But I was able to find that money and not ask for it this year. We will need it in the future to stay in compliance. So our office needs 4 contract lawyers at $35,000 apiece, and then we're going to need to make up that $180,000 that we had given back to the county. We need to increase that line item by that amount of money. And that's what we need to stay in compliance and bring you back 40%.
Okay. Anyone got any questions?
I didn't hear I'm sorry, I didn't hear salary increase. Did you want 3%?
Oh, I asked for 3%. I'm sorry. We met with Scott, and it appears that the county is recommending 3%, and the county has been good to me over the last 7 years when I've explained why we needed more money for my lawyers, and I'm just seeking 3% across the board this year.
When we met though, I thought there was a few positions that you were asking.
Oh, there are 2 more. I'm sorry. There are 2 I'm asking 5% for. One is Marvin Smith, my executive director, financial guru here, to bring him in more compliance with the people across the state. I'm asking for 5% instead of 3%. And then our office manager, who manages the secretaries, the paralegals, and the investigators, I'm asking for 5% for her. Everybody else, 3%.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. County Division 1.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Morning, Judge.
Basically, on our, for salaries, we kept in line with the request that the council made at 3%. We've asked for 3% for everyone except myself and the magistrate whose salaries are mandated by the state. However, there are 2 positions that we did request more than the 3%, and that's because they're probation officers, and there's a rotating system for probation officers where every 2 years it changes from court to court as to who's the chief probation officer and assistant chief probation officer. And I believe that next year it's our turn to have the chief probation officer and the assistant chief. So we've asked for, they would be supervising the probation officers for the whole Superior Court system. So that increases their salary according to the pay schedule. So we've asked for, I believe it's 10.5 for the chief and 10 for the assistant chief. But
So then that other court who's losing that person would be decreasing
I believe
their
so.
budget by that.
I believe so. I believe so. We've asked for no new positions. Thankful for everything that you've given to us in the past, and we're operating pretty efficiently with the number of people that we have. However, there is one major request that we have, and that's in furniture and fixtures. The other county courts within the last few years were able to be remodeled, and consequently they needed furniture and fixtures. We haven't gone through that process yet, and so we need smaller desks. We need to make more room. And I would say that if you came to look at our facilities, Judge Moss, Judge Cantrell, and myself, the 3 judges here in Crown Point, I think square inch for square inch, considering the number of people, we have to be more jammed in than anybody in this building. I mean, I invite you to come and look. And we've been working with the commissioners to pick out some walls and give us a little bit more room, but consequently, we've asked for 100,000 approximately to get this job done for the furniture and fixtures for the rest of the staff.
Within your office for all the courts?
Pardon me?
With,
Oh, no,
just
this
for
is,
your office?
no, this,
Or it's,
I'm not speaking for them, but I
No,
believe
okay,
they've already
okay.
had.
Division 1 only.
okay, 100,000 for?
Yes.
Okay.
Judge called me on that. I want to explain that Judge called me on that. We had a discussion and I suggested that this might be the best way to go. Am I right, Judge?
That's correct.
There are some options, but I think this would be the best way to go, which is the new courtroom and new furniture. Because the commissioners are paying for the courtroom, right?
Yeah, right, right.
But
We've been working with them on that process.
right. No, you told me that commissioners have been gracious enough to do this, but then the furniture is another problem. So I suggested that Judge Firelli put this in the budget and let's see what happens. So any questions for not only the judge, myself, please let me know now or on the phone, whatever you need. You got it, bro.
All right, any other questions for Judge Riley? All right, thank you, Judge.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, next, Division 2, probably, Division 2.
Judge Mons.
Yes, there's yes. Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're not asking for very much. They seem that way. We're not asking for additional salaries or additional people, but we are asking to replace some things and to move some things to different line items. With the new system that's there, we can no longer put certain things like dues and subscriptions used to be out of the general fund. That has to have a line item now. So we're just asking to fund that line item from the general fund where we used to take it from. The other thing is we're asking for $6,795 from the Cume-Cap fund. We need printers, we need scanners, and we need one monitor. Ours are pretty old, and when we call down to data to ask them to fix them, they won't do it. They said they're too old to repair, so we need some other things. And one of the things that I was mentioning as to moving the funds from one fund to another is travel. We didn't use travel at all during COVID. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't not required to go anywhere. Everything was done via Zoom. Well, the state's got us doing things now in person. And they pay for some things, but not everything. So the 3 judicial officers, travel will go up. And so I'm asking for that amount. Wait a minute, I think I have it. We're asking for an additional $1,000. We had only in that fund $311. So we bottomed it out because we weren't going anywhere. We need the money back. Is there anything else I'm forgetting?
Those 2 new lines that we're requesting, we are not asking for additional appropriations. Those will be funded from the decrease that we're requesting in our other professional services.
Just moving money, basically.
Yeah.
Because we can't use those line items anymore according to the new system we have. We have to have our own line item.
Yeah, the purchasing.
Oracle system.
Yeah, yeah, purchasing is, you know, a lot of the times when I submit a request for a purchase or a quote, they will respond and say it needs to be paid out of a different line that we don't have access to. And I'll explain that, and I'll, of course, offer to get on a council meeting so that we can create that line, but they agreed to just let us pay it out of a different one. But I think they're tightening up on that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Okay, anyone got any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Judge. You're up next, Division 3. They have
L.A.D.O.S.
Do they, are doing their L.A.D.O.S or? Yeah, you can, well, where's the L.A.D.O.S on? Yeah, you can do L.A.D.O.S. You want to do L.A.D.O.S?
Judge, I'm already up there.
Oh, you're fine, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you today?
Good.
Good.
Amanda with L.A.D.O.S too. For 2024 budget, we're not asking for any changes different from 2023, except for the 3% raise suggested by Scott. And we have an approximately $10,000 request into Calumet for a new server. Ours is about to fall apart and it needs to house our data warehouse. So that's all we're asking for.
Okay. Question?
Real quick, Scott, how much money are we giving the commissioners and Cap for this and data or this equipment? Is it all gone? Is there, you know, is there any money left in there this year for some of these things to be purchased out of or?
If I look at their year-to-date spend, it would indicate there's money left.
Right.
However, I don't know what their plans are with that remaining balance.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding out. There's a lot of
It sure
cash
seems like
requests,
it
but
does.
we've always given them, sent them over copiers, furniture, that stuff has always gone over to
It
the
seems
commissioners to fund.
Do you like the way it's set up, Mike? Is that working for you guys?
It's, you know, not like what you do with data processing, and I'm fine with that. It's typically at budget time, the extra stuff comes over at the same time, like maybe know we're accounting for X amount of furniture, or X amount of, so if you give a, you know, whatever plus, then
So we should have departments send their requests, just like we do with data over to commissioners or no? Oh, you like it right here?
because
It's a system to vet it. I mean, if this works good enough for the vetting system and then we suggest, hey, see if the commissioners have any money for that copy or repair or whatever. Just keep
yeah,
doing it then.
theoretically, if we get these, you know, you're gonna approve a budget for, if we could spend it in this year's money, I mean, I think that's 3%, then we
Yeah.
would, right? Why wouldn't?
Why wouldn't we?
If we can.
Okay,
Right?
very good. Thank you. All right, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got to post more pictures with a puppy though.
So we did ask for the 3% raise across the board. We included our public defenders in that because as you know, our public defenders don't get county insurance. They have no benefits and they haven't had a raise in over 7 years. So, and the number of defendants in the county division that they're representing based on poverty and number of cases filed is significantly going up. Each of my public defenders are juggling almost 150 individuals at any given time. So we included them in the 3% with the rest of the staff. The only other interesting thing that I asked for is sort of an unfunded mandate. I asked for a secretary for Veterans Treatment Court because now we have to keep the records for the problem-solving court in 3 different places. It has to be in Odyssey, it has to be in SRS, and it has to be in the state problem-solving court system, and it has to be updated weekly every time the participant comes to court. And since my case managers for Veterans Treatment Court are sometimes carrying up to 40 participants at one time, it's almost become unmanageable to keep the records up to date, and we don't want to lose our certification because we can't keep up with the paperwork. So we're asking for some additional help for the paperwork. I know money's tight. I wouldn't ask for it if I didn't think this was something that we really needed to help keep the Veterans Treatment Court in compliance with the state requirements. I also do have $15,000 in a chief probation officer extra item that you could have back.
All right, I'll take it.
So, yeah, but it's in the one PO line item. It's marked delineated separately and she's not the chief PO, so that should come back to the county.
Okay.
But I didn't have a chief and an assistant chief when we did it. We only had one probation officer receiving an additional stipend. So I don't know how Judge Shirley's setting his up, but that's how we've always done it. So like the felony division had it this last year, so they should have the money to give back as well.
Right,
So
that's how it's supposed to go.
it's supposed to switch.
Yes.
And we tried to give it back before and it didn't come off. So
Oh,
we have to pay attention to that more carefully. So.
okay. All right, any questions for Judge?
The only other thing I have is the assessed need from data, what we'll need next year for Cap to replace failing items is $19,000. And I don't care if you put it in data's budget or the commissioner's budget or my budget, just so long as we're able to replace our failing technology.
Yeah, that we usually leave in data, but.
What, I'm sorry.
Computers.
The computers, we have
Software, whatever.
Carolyn came through, we had her do an assessment of what she
Yeah.
thought we would need before we asked for just a random number in the budget and what she thought would need to be replaced next year. And she gave us an estimate of $19,000, so that's
No,
what
my hearing wouldn't.
Well, I can come whisper in your ear if you want me to. Any questions or anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. And room 4. Morning. Afternoon.
Hi, everyone. All right, with our budget, we sent a cover letter. I don't know if you all have it, but it kind of outlined what we were asking for. And in an effort to be fiscally responsible, we went through our budget and found where we really weren't using money. And so we have a lot of things that are decreasing. Part-time, we've decreased from 20,000 to 10,000. Clothing decreased from $551 to $200. Other supplies decreasing from $31.16 to $3,000. Professional services decreasing from $47.23 to $3,000. Travel and lodging decreasing from $7,000 to $6,000. Travel decreasing from $2,000 to $1,500. Travel mileage increasing because we have been going to a lot of conferences, and now that things are back live, then there's 3 of us, that's increasing. We're asking for that to increase by 1,000. Telephone, that's decreased to $1. Dues and subscriptions has increased by $500. Food and lodging, that's a $2,000 increase because that's our jury trial, how we feed our jury. And we've had a lot of jury trials in the last couple of years. I think we've done, 5 up to this point this year. Furniture and fixtures, we went from $1 to 1,000. So when you look at what we're trying to give back and what we are asking for, that's a decrease of $9,308. We've asked for the court administrator and a secretary's salary, base salary, to increase. And then we're just asking for these supplemental items to a line item to be created for those. The probation department, we're asking for what the state mandates for those officers. And then we have a cum cap request of 20,000. And that was it.
What's your request?
20,000. Oh, yeah. Computers, printers, it's never ending with that.
Gotcha.
Any questions for Judge?
None for the judge, but I do have a question I didn't quite understand. Do we give the commissioners money to purchase computers and things of that nature?
Furniture, yeah, fixed item, furniture and office bill.
What about copiers?
Yeah.
He's getting up.
Yeah, I don't know. What do we
The
usually?
King Cap budget,
Yeah.
of which there's only 2 departments, I believe, have access to it, right? The commissioners is one, and then data processing is the other.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't fit into the data processing, then they come to the commission and grab it. We generate the purchase order essentially, but in these cases, we're generating purchase order based on, I mean, computers is a little bit different, they actually assess it a little bit better. You all are the only ones that assess whether, for example, Judge Charlie could get $100,000.
For carpet and.
Yeah. For
Furniture.
Furniture.
Fixture item, that's.
Yeah.
But should a person come here for computers or go to you for computers?
Actually, data processing.
Okay,
L.A.D.O.S. But they come here for the cash, because you guys are the only ones that have cash.
Right.
So in this case, Judge C.A.S.A making the request, we grant the request, then she would just go to data and get it ordered.
Well, usually she goes to data first with the request, and then data comes in and looks at what she has and then tells them what they need.
But how does Judge know whether she should be requesting it now?
Well, she is requesting it now. She's requesting it through data. Remember when Mark came up here, he said, there's his part of the budget, and then it's what all the departments request. So either, I don't know, does data come to you or you go to data?
We go to data.
They go to data. So I think most departments know they go to data when they need computers and that.
If we need to drop a network line, if we need to get toners, all of that comes out of data. They'll come out, they'll send somebody to give us a quote, and then they tell us if we have it in the budget or not.
That's where I'm confused.
And we used to do the same thing with Coop Camp, though. We used to have a list of all the departments in their request. So we could kind of see who needs what and what they, in case there wasn't enough money in that fund, then you could say, well, maybe you could go now this year, or can you hold off till next year? And
There was, at one time, there was like an extra spreadsheet,
right,
but the dollar amounts ended up going into the commissioner's budget, but there was an informal
Right.
item that went along with it that said, hey, that 150 was supposed to be for Shirley or
you gotta get it before it's gone.
Jacuzzi money goes in the spot, cigar lounge goes in that.
But there's no competition. In other words, if we granted Sasha 20 grand. It's not like.
Yeah, I mean, she's talking about data processing stuff.
Yeah,
They vet it pretty well. I mean, they're not gonna put a computer in there that is not appropriate.
But this judge wouldn't be in competition with the other judges.
Well, to some degree, everybody's in competition.
yeah. And sometimes it's based on the needs. Like, can it wait to this year? I mean, can it wait to next year? Or, maybe Mark has the money now and, yeah.
That is not what my question was. Mark asked us for money earlier, which would include computers.
Yeah, software, computers.
All right, let's just deal with a computer. If the judge is asking for a computer, has she been to Mark and Mark said he don't have the money?
No, it's in Mark's request already.
But
She's
she had-
already gone to Mark.
The council, forgive me, but the council will not put a separate computer line item in her budget. What the council is going to be requested to do is to put a portion of the big amount that they put in data processing and think about judge when they do it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay, I think I understand that.
And the only thing I wanted to say to the council is that we really tried to go through and really see where we didn't use money. Because, I mean, these people work hard and they're working for low pay. And we're just trying to get everyone to that 40,000 mark if we can. And there's some things we just don't need. People were telling me you're nuts if you're gonna give money back, but don't give money back. And I was like, but we're not using it. So that's why really this is an effort. We really tried to go through and see where have we not used it in a while? Where can we be more responsible? So the stuff that we are asking for is really to get these people to a better position. That's really the bottom line for us. That's all I can say.
And I appreciate that. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
we're trying.
most of us do. We appreciate that. You look within your own budget.
You're one of the few that's done that.
We're trying. I will,
Scott?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I will say this, those 3 courtrooms downstairs, they're tiny. They are tiny. So when they're asking to be remodeled, it's so hard to maneuver in there for anyone, well, you've been in there.
Yeah.
They're small.
They need to go to the commissioners.
They're small, but thank you for your time. Thank you for always listening to us. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
If only we could all have a team out of
Juvenile court.
Just ask Judge Bonaventura about how you gotta get that.
Good afternoon.
It's a great design.
So I'm gonna go by department probably. First of all, of course, we're asking for 3% or anything more you might be able to we would take. However, I'll start with the juvenile court and the CA.S.A department. No new positions, classified job positions, no changes. Probation officers, as everybody knows, are state mandated. All they're looking for there are some supplies and service items. Office supplies line item request an additional 3,000 to cover increased price of paper and office supplies. Some costs have doubled. Household line items request 2,000 to cover costs of cleaning and household products for the court. Telephone line items increase additional 3,000 to cover costs of additional hotspots, 5G hardware upgrades for 4 magistrates, 6 court reporters, cost $300 a person. And maintenance and service contract line item, 32,000, which is about what they spent last year in the 2022 budget. That's all for juvenile court and CA.S.A. 4D court, the 4D court is requesting $5,000 increase for the office clerical position to 43,521 in lieu of the 3% increase. This is gonna come out of the incentive fund, so it won't be the general fund. Supplemental pay, the Lake Superior Court Juvenile Division is requesting supplemental pay for 2 bailiffs, 2,500 each, 2 court reporters, 5,000 each, and a court manager, 5,000. Again, coming out of the incentive fund, so there's no cost from the general fund. Maintenance and service contracts, the Lake Superior Court Juvenile Division is requesting an appropriation of 30,000 to cover costs for the 40 public defender. That would be out of the general fund.
Okay.
That's all I have for 4D.
All right.
Last but not least, the detention center. Detention center is looking for an increase of $28,333 in part-time to increase hourly rate from $14 to $16 to attract and maintain employees, which with the current hourly rate, we have had difficulties in finding candidates. We're also, in addition, we're asking to increase salaries for the following positions. The head nurse, the RN, from $59,663 to $66,663. That's an increase of $7,000. The LPN nurse is $43,608, an increase of $4,000, which is $47,608. Time management supervisor. This individual has just taken over much more responsibilities, such as training of all employees on the time management and Oracle system, responsible for the time management for the entire juvenile center, employees, and uploading the files to the payroll department. So we're asking for an increase of $4,500 for that individual. New positions, we were going to ask for teacher, we're rescinding that. We might have another avenue to do that within ourselves next year, so we're going to take a look at that.
Which one is that? I missed.
New positions for teachers.
Oh,
we're going to
okay.
ask for 2, but we're rescinding that.
Okay.
Probation officers, again, their salaries are mandated by the state. Some supplies and services, juvenile detention is requesting increasing garage and motors, 2,179. We have 13 vehicles to maintain, and 2,593 to healthcare and lab supplies. The cost of medical supplies, waste disposal, and medication has increased. 5,000 to other professional services to support higher education, core library, courseware and licenses, psych evaluation and risk assessments as needed for the residents, and 987 to other repairs such as vacuums, locks, sinks, etc. Last but not least, Summit has increased their prices for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Residents count up went up from 20 to 30 to 35 to 40. The weekly meals charged from $6,000 to $6,500. So we're asking for an increase of $39,000 for food and lodging. That's it.
Any questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sheriff's not here. Yes,
Well, if there's nobody here.
you want to go?
The commissioner's up?
Sure.
It
looks like
I wanted to clarify that it was not my intent to show a 0 pay raise for my employees or myself or my.
You say that now.
No, what, did she do the same?
No, she just, it's giving a lot of money back and.
I'm not intended. No, honestly, and there's nobody to blame except for myself. All your staff have always been extremely helpful. And, they put up with, my, missing, talents. Anyways, so that's what besides that, as a big error on my part, everything was submitted as we were recommended to do, I suppose. And there's not anything large changes from our perspective on the commissioner's side. We have and always will work with the cum cap part. On the cars thing, just because it's come up a couple times, there's a couple things. Basically, I felt like putting it into the individual's budgets and having them have a line item, it basically helps them prepare and account for it. And, something's different about a department head or a frontline employee that doesn't have a direct relationship with the cost of what they're driving around in. And so I think that having it in their budget makes it make sense. And then the fact that there's an ongoing expense, it's not like an, oh my God, you know, the wheels have fallen off the car or whatever. So that was the kind of reason. It hasn't gone, you know, wonderfully well. But I hope that it'll improve over time. I mean, COVID was part of the problem with it, but also it's just like buy-in, it's understanding what needs to happen and how it goes along. And then there's a lot of, you know, disparate people, but that was the reason for that. And then I don't know. I mean, I guess if there's any other questions or things about budgetary stuff that all our department head, you know, the department heads that are operating under the Board of Commissioners will submit here after 2:30, and I'll be on, or 2:50, and I'll be on as well. If I'm not here in person, I'll be on that little machine over there.
Okay.
To use one of John Dahl's phrases, I try and like interject him into all the things I do now. So
Mike,
he's
you-
still here.
related, but you were here.
Yeah.
Like furniture.
Yeah.
That wouldn't go to Mark Pierman.
No, that would be a cume cap. That would be a separate cume cap item. It is a funky item.
Yeah.
That we try and help out with,
Uh-huh.
but it does get a little weird when people, you know, randomly come up with furniture that we're not prepared for. For all some of our we used to do a better job of it. We could do better. We used to do a better job of accounting for that when we did the big remodels. For example, the auditorium, which got remodeled, it looks great. All the things that are there sticking to the ground, fixtures, are fine. The furniture, we didn't do so well on the remodel. So we're doing the furniture at a later date, which is not the right way to do it. We should do it
That's
all.
why I didn't know, I asked Judge Shirley when we were on the phone, I said, well, the commissioners are doing the upgrade.
Yeah.
This nice new courtroom, the furniture is not included. He said it's not.
Well, I don't want to get into it too much because they already,
That's okay.
you know, but
I want to get it right.
yeah, we got to get it right. I don't, there was a time when it was like, we need to remodel, judge said we need to remodel. And then I think he pulled back from that saying, we don't really need a remodel. What we need is furniture, which is a different, you know, when we do a remodel, we can do different things for the benefit of everybody, like HVAC and lighting and things like that. If you're just getting new furniture in the same footprint, there's a different.
What's happening in this instance?
Great. I don't know. Initially it was a remodel and then it became a furniture thing. So I don't know 100%. It's on our list of projects.
So he said they were knocking down walls.
Well, he said that. I know he said that, but we haven't.
Well, unless he's just talking about the panels that just unbolted, maybe that's what you just.
Possibly. We're not, I mean, like currently we're doing remodel and surveyor, and plan commission will be shortly after that. Those are full on remodels. We're gonna add on to the election. Those are full on construction remodels. And juvenile, there's some construction remodels, but there's not anything in the immediate future for that area.
Yeah, you said you needed smaller desks.
You know, and with that Jason Godey, if that space and that you guys can't work that out, do you want to move him somewhere to another space?
Well, and I apologize for jumping in on that one because I didn't catch any of it until you said something about space, and I'm like, holy cow! I just had a conversation, which I did just have a conversation. He didn't say anything about it. So we have spaces, as you know, when state board comes in, they need an office, private offices. We've got private offices. I've got a private office over here that is usable, you know. And of course, when Surveyor moved around, there's private offices. So I would like him to say, like, this is what I need. I also think that, well, some of those folks should be able to, I think they should be a little bit more mobile. They should go to a veteran potentially, or have the ability to go to, rather than, you know, there's all sorts of issues with coming in here.
Well, that's what I was thinking, Mike. You know, when we moved the health, one of the best things we did, I think you were in the council, when we moved the health department and got, you know, folks, moms and dads trying to, strollers and get it when we had escalators.
But here's the other part of that. I know where you're going, and I feel the same way. Like, okay, they've got easier access, right? Yeah. But then so do the bad guys. And so when there's something that's what would be considered a soft target. So some people in that building say, well, we don't have the security that you have in the A building. And it cuts both ways. I know I'm saying the same things you are, and I wouldn't normally, you know, but that's the reality, right? So
it's the unfortunate
reality. So I think about that when it comes to voting. Like if you want to vote here as an early vote site, you you gotta go through security. Like, why do we have to, you know, but you can typically, when you vote, you don't have to go through security, you know,
Right.
but you have to go through security if you're gonna vote, early vote here, as opposed to like a library or whatever.
Because there's courtrooms. Right.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know, we wanna, I mean, I can empathize with them. In fact, it's ironic that the place that they once were is currently virtually unoccupied, although 911 is using it now because they used it during COVID because they needed to move some stuff over there. So, but that was not much more convenient. It may have been larger, but it was not much more convenient, I don't think, than the location that they're in right now.
Can we go
Yeah,
into
it's
that? I
elevators.
mean, if we had to, talk about this for financing, but where they're at right now, because it's nice that if they could, to get these guys in and out with wheelchair bound and everything coming in there, can we develop out, have you guys talked about, instead of going into the media room, maybe taking up some of that hall and blocking that one side off?
Yeah, I mean, we did not go that route in part because you still end up with that early barrier, which is the security checkpoint and everything else. And you got stairs to come up and everything else. So, I mean, it's probably it's definitely a decent question. Actually, and I now that I'm recalling the conversation, I mentioned to him, I said, what about Hammond? You don't have anybody in Hammond, for example. Like, I have space.
For the satellite office.
Right. Would that be beneficial? But I don't know, like, I don't know what he knows. I don't know all the people that he services. Maybe there's a predominance of people from Lowell or something. And I'm like, okay, well, Hammond would make it more or less convenient. But we've got other options. You could put some at, you know, when we were doing testing and such, we did some stuff at the fairgrounds. We did some stuff back here behind the, you know, we stood up different spots that we own and we have access to.
Monthly at VFWs and Legions to process claims too, so.
They do that already,
I know
right?
Lowell does.
Yeah.
My buddy
Oh,
said-
speaking of that, and we said Lowell twice. I would just like to advocate for all the boards and such that we ask, you know, you all appoint a bunch of people, we appoint a bunch of people, and across the board of the boards, except for election board, we pay them very little.
Yeah.
So, you know, whatever. When time comes to sprinkle some love across the county, think of the boards, because I think we really need to do a better. We could get better people if we paid them a little bit more. Not that they're doing it for the money.
Or get them there.
Or get them there.
Well, at the cost of fuel, and you get $50 a meeting for, let's say, planning commission.
Yeah, I don't know.
Would it really kill
there's
us?
some awful ones.
What if you gave them $100? I mean, I think planning commission's one of the lowest. Isn't it like $50 they get or something on planning?
I get $0.
You get zero.
Well,
And we all get zero, but
Yeah, I
we
get
should.
zero.
But that's part of the reason why we should advocate for, like, you know.
Well, absolutely.
We should figure out what it is first of all.
Yeah.
I think it's only like $50, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike's not.
Peter Bow is the same way, and planning commission. You know, obviously you want experts, you want expertise there, you want good people there. Peter Bow, it's like required. Like you need to have an attorney, you need to have, and you pay them like I think that one's decent, but it's still cheap.
I didn't know what your opinion was. I wanted to talk to you on it, but when we have some time to kill on the per diem for travel for us. Way we're set up right now for breakfast, lunch and dinner, I think it was, is it 10, 15, 25?
Yeah, it's 50 a
And so
day.
instead of doing that, what if we just said you get, it's taxable, you have to pay tax, so you get a check, let's say you're traveling for 3 days. So you get a check, I'm just gonna say $150.
Uh-huh.
You gotta pay tax out of it, but you're just given that check and then buy your food accordingly, whether you wanna eat a big breakfast or a light. Because you go to Washington DC, and I'll tell you what, you get $10 for breakfast, $15 for breakfast. It's a $20 cab ride to get to McDonald's to get a cup of coffee, and the buffets at the place are, you know, $30. So I thought if
You gotta go to Buc-ee's is what you gotta do. You gotta find yourself a Buc-ee's.
I love
What a racket that place is.
What's
Well,
They got a
you
good
do
Buc-ee's.
it the same way we did in the Union Hall and the way we did it with others. You're given a per diem when you're gonna travel. So if it's
Yeah.
$50 a day, you're
Oh,
given
I
that
thought you-
$50
I thought you-
check.
Requesting
minus taxes.
150 a day.
Pardon?
I thought you were requesting 150 a day.
No, I said if you went
okay.
for 3 days, you would receive a check for $150.
I'll stay in fam.
But 150 would be, but 100 is probably more in tune, but 150 a day.
Give us our
is a
money.
lot.
Yeah, I agree. Just make it a per day.
Right, and if you need
Not-
$50, you can go buy your lunch, go buy your
Yeah.
dinner, but just give it to them and quit doing this stupid stuff we're doing, like $10, yeah, I gotta bring in and save $10 for breakfast, I'd like.
I think if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know how,
You don't have to increase
I think
the
we
amount.
do, I don't think we require
Receipts.
receipts, but you only get $10. So what you should do is probably make it 20 a meal and then don't require receipts or whatever, you know, I don't.
Well, and it's right, and then if it's truly a reimbursement, but if it is, we're gonna call it a per diem, then it should be.
I can tell a Buc-ee's story if you want. Have you ever been to Buc-ee's?
No, but my wife has it, and Rural King has the Bucky bites, so I go to Rural King.
For the nuggets?
Caramel, the nuggets, the Bucky nuggets.
I was there once with my daughter and we're going through and it was it was beautiful, but a madhouse. And she sees the little Bucky doll at the checkout and she starts to, she wants it and getting all emotional and everything else. And the cashier's like, it's okay, I'll wait. I'm like, you just bring up my veggie straw. I'm not buying the $12 Bucky doll. Just go. So she had a
I love Buc-ee's.
Oh, here's highway. It was beautiful.
Buc-ee's, I don't even know about it, but
Oh,
will you check for me, and you and I speak? I'll reach out to you, you reach out to me, check and see if you got any planned remodeling work in Judge Shirley's courtroom. If not, I don't want to waste my time, Mike.
Okay, I think I will check and I think the answer is no. But what he's talking about maybe is some level of like interior remodel where they're just axing all the desks and stuff and maybe reconfiguring them in like cubicles of some sort. I'm guessing, but I'll find out and I'll get back to you.
Cool, thanks, Dave.
all right.
Let's go, Jan, we can get you out of here, buddy.
Get right up.
Get up here so you can get out of here. Hey, yeah.
It's the sheriff before us, I mean.
Well, you just stepped up before they stepped in.
You're in.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As far as the various highway budgets go, I think it might be simplest to state that the majority of the budgets we've asked for the 2023 budget exactly the same without any increase in them. In the 1/1/12 budget, we're exactly the same. In the Cambridge budget, which is Fund 6350, I believe now, or 4350. It's the 7006 fund or department. We have some Cambridge projects that will be going in the next couple of years. We've asked for an extra $1 million next year from Cambridge because there's a $5 million surplus. The projects are usually 2 to 3 years, a year for design, and then we go out for bids once the blueprints are drawn. I know Dwayne told me, I think it's either East Chicago to Hammond on Chicago Avenue or Kennedy Avenue is one of the two bridges, and then there's another bridge that's up for a major redesign. That's why we asked for the $1 million increase to get the blueprints and the design portions of that going. In the 1/102 budget, the county, the motor vehicle highway fund, in 702, 703, and 705, which is our non-restricted side, where our payroll and things come out of, we've asked for a $400,000 or $500,000 increase. That is still within our budget. We had been building a little surplus every year, and then every 2 or 3 years come in and ask you for additional appropriations to buy equipment. With the 3% increases in salary, we can't run such a large surplus this year, but we will be able to operate within the revenue and possibly have a smaller surplus next year. Answer any questions that anybody has.
Any questions?
Hey, one question. When you guys build bridges, I can't speak for everybody here, but those plaques with our names on them, those are not popular amongst the public. I get nothing but terrible feedback on that we're trying to ourselves. I can't speak for everybody else, but I'm definitely never been a fan of that stuff, but.
Before I got here.
Understood. But, yeah, those are good.
We can run that by Dwayne, and
Yeah.
if
Yes, not the
guys
most
don't want the
popular
plaque, we don't.
addition to a bridge.
Yeah.
We've already heard from one you mentioned about. So.
Yep, it's those things, it's like people say we're just using taxpayer money to campaign,
Yes.
which I can understand their point of view because I feel the same way.
Thanks for looking into that issue. I know Dwayne sent a letter down to the state requesting, and I know they take a while to get things done. But
You know, there's a great response to the constituency, and if I can be recorded while I'm saying this, when they make that response to you, like it's using government dollars to pay for stupid shit, well, tell them, you know what else? It also is that when you say that your elected official doesn't do anything in the community or isn't working hard enough for you, at least you can see what they did. So I agree, it's not a big deal. I don't walk in parades because I think it's a waste of time. But I have no problem, you know, if someone feels really good, if the commissioners like their name on it, I don't care. And I think the people need to know that their commissioners are doing good things for them.
That's why I said I can
Yeah.
only speak for myself.
Yeah, and I don't care either. I'm with you too, Randy, but if people out there have problems with it, they need to know that, you know, you can't complain about everything. And if you want to know what the highway department's doing, well, they're doing bridges, culverts, drains, this. And this is brought to you and your commissioners are addressing these problems, not your city council and everything else. So that's the answers. And no one reads the paper anymore, Jan, so you can't put it in the paper and tell them. We can put it on a Facebook page, I guess.
Well, and just to your point on that, I've been with Highway now 13 years, maybe
Yeah.
going on 14. We used to do 400 to 500,000 a year in paving. Now with seeded money from the commissioners and other things, we're doing 7 million a year or more in paving,
Yeah.
7 to 10 million every year.
yeah.
It's a big deal.
Which we shouldn't be because they didn't want the county option income tax. We should probably cancel that, huh? I'm not seeing that 7 million in Hobart and North Township.
Just shut up.
Don't take the bait.
Well, some of that is also from the highway funds. They've increased the highway funds under the
Yeah.
road tax as well.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
and the match, which they could increase, but it seems like we just did a match. We're doing another community grant, right? Seems like we just did one.
Yes.
Every year.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, but it just seems like we did it 3 months ago. Maybe, I don't. Okay, any questions for highway or public
No,
works?
thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great work as always.
All right, Sheriff. Go back. You're up. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'd like to start with the sheriff's budget and speak specifically, working coordinating with Scott. We believe that everything that we have put on our budget is in line with the amounts that we've given guidance to stay within on the sheriff's budget. I have both our financial advisor and our purchasing authority to, if you want to have any questions specific about the sheriff's budget line items.
Well, we haven't really looked at it, so I think you're here today to give your presentation and give an explanation of what you're asking for. Let us-
Betsy, today you would if you just give us a brief overlay of your entire budget, where your major capital expenditures you forecast that you think they'll be and why you think you need them. And then we'll start, and everything actually starts on Thursday, this coming Thursday. Today's just, dear Santa, I would like for Christmas.
Yeah, I was.
Get a red ink pen and a catalog.
Right. The bulk of our increase would be for personnel raises. Obviously, we put in for, as far as the sheriff's budget, 3% across the board. Obviously, the police officers are still negotiating, so that's yet to be determined. But for the purposes of putting together a budget, we did put 3% to get something to start working with. So across the board, all positions on the sheriff's budget, we looked at a 3% raise. We did just move around some funds just to more appropriate line items. So when you get it, you'll see a large amount. It's really not an increase. We're just putting the lines the money in the lines that are more appropriate for us to be able to spend the money where we need it. So it's just a lot of juggling around, but we stayed within a 3% increase across the board for the whole sheriff's budget.
Okay, all your line items and all, you're saying you
Yeah.
stayed within the 3%?
Yeah, we moved some stuff around,
Some
but
money around.
yeah, the total was a net increase 3% for the whole budget.
Okay.
So nothing really spectacular to talk about as far as the sheriff's budget. Did you want to, are we getting into like public safety and cum cap and those things too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, the pension is funded in two different places. It's Fund 1287, and there's some on the general fund, as you know.
Right.
That amount actually went down to $3,065,507. So that's split 700,000 out of the 1287 fund, and then the rest is on the general. And as far as cum cap, we have a small amount in there, just increased 3%. And then as far as public safety, it's the same dollar amount as last year, just increased by 3%. And once again, juggled around, some of the funds were put into more appropriate line items so we can spend it the way that we need to.
Beginning last year, now again this year, we're really trying to focus on zero-based budgeting, where we aren't having to make as many moves with the money during the year. So that's what Bill's speaking about. We're putting in the proper accounts so they can be spent from the proper, put in the proper and spent from the proper account.
So that concludes the sheriff's. Moving on to the jail, for the jail CBA, they have a 4% increase. So for all the positions that are covered by the CBA go up by 4%. All the other positions that are not, we put in a 3% placeholder for that. The jail mental health did request a new position of an added QMHP position that we put in there. We did reduce in our our part-time line item, because the bulk of that part-time line item is taken up by those part-time mental health positions. We feel that we'll get more out of the money because the turnover for the part-timers is so great. We're putting a lot of time into training them, and the retention is very low. So we reduced the part-time amount by the amount that it should cost us for that additional position.
With benefits or no?
Correct, with benefits, yes. As far as anything else other than that, as far as the general on the regular budget, I think that was it. Like, once again, we did move some stuff around, but the total increase is 3% on the general fund. Once you get to let's see, misdemeanor, same thing. It was just going up by the 3% for the raises that aren't in the CBA. And that's about it. So that one's within the guidelines. The cum cap, same thing. Just increased by 3% just for some furniture and fixture line item. And then once we get to public safety, this is the big one. This is the only real increase. We did ask for 3.5 million in building and structures. That is to complete the jail project, and maybe the warden might want to talk about that a little bit more.
What is it? What project? Oh, you're going to talk about warden.
We were able to pass the RFP and accept a bid for the video upgrade. This is a 3-year attempt to try to get the video system upgraded, additional cameras, which are much needed on multiple floors. So we did accept that bid at $1,030,000, but that is only the first phase. There's 3 additional phases for the old jail, which would be the second floor, third floor, and fourth floor. So we're asking for the additional money so that we can get those areas done next year to increase safety for staff and the inmate population.
As you said, this is a wish list. If at all possible, we'd like to get that project done in 1 year. We're getting phase 1 done, like the warden said, this year. That has been approved by the commissioner. So if we can't get that much, then we'll do whatever we can. So that concludes the jail. As far as animal control, nothing really too much to talk about other than the 3% raise. We did ask for a $4,872 increase to the director position, just to try to retain We get a lot of turnover in in that director position. We're trying to up it a little bit so we can get some better retention. We're getting qualified people, but they're not staying. So we're hoping that we can boost it a little bit and keep a good qualified director in that position. Other than that, we stay within the 3%. There were a few, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 positions that we did ask for minor raises throughout the budgets. We're talking about a couple of the public safety intel analysts, and intel analysts we're asking for like a $1,200 raise, a $5,000 raise, a $3,000 raise, and then we had the director, which I talked about. So we do in any of these individual raises we asked for over and above the 3%, we've reduced by the total amount in our budgets. So everything is that we asked for. Really, the only thing that in all our budgets that were asked outside of the 3% was that 3.5 million in the jail.
So that, all three entities, that being the merit officers, the correctional officers, and the 911, overall, the budgets are still 3?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, with your adjustments?
Yes.
They're 3%.
Correct. Everything's 3% except for public safety in the jail where we asked for that big project. That was
That's 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 million. And we normally ask for about $1 million, $1.2 million, or it's like 1.2. So it's actually not quite a 3.5 million increase.
How long has your animal control director, how long she been there? How long she, or he?
What a day.
Oh, you just hired?
Yeah. Yeah, we just.
Oh, okay, okay. Because we've always appointed someone to our domestic violence fatality review team. It was important to have someone there on animal control.
Yeah.
Because they see abused animals and that's a sign that maybe there's something going on in the household. And we not getting any participation. For years, we just there hasn't been any participation. So maybe if you would speak to your director and see if she would make time. They meet once a month on a Wednesday around 2:30. So, all right, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else? All right,
Thank you very much.
Yep, you're done. All right, thanks.
Yes.
All right, commissioners again. Human resources, Joe here? No.
We got, what time you guys slotted for? Want to take them?
Let me think. No, yeah, come on up, come on.
Don't make us, get back.
Thanks, guys. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Council. How you doing?
So.
Good afternoon.
We are asking for nothing on, no increase at all on the budget line items. Same last year. We did, talk to, Councilman Niemeyer and Trumper and Sid for a part of our budget committee. And, we lost a couple of key people and they've asked them to give you this information just to, get you up to speed with where they are.
Thank you.
And we have lost, 2 key people over the last year. One we just lost last week.
Raise it up to me.
And we're trying to be competitive with salaries.
Did you give a copy of this to Scott? Or if you would, please? Yeah. You got it? Okay.
That's like no more.
And Jasmine, do you need one for, no, you don't need it. Ray?
Okay. Oh. Jasmine. Part of the records.
Oh, it's very old.
All right, we're ready. Unless you want to give them time to review it, but I think you could walk them through it.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line of this is that if we get what we're, we did a comparison with all of the Howard counties that are around us and some that are about the same demographics as Lake County and came up with these numbers. The ask is huge. It's $160,000 increase. And I know, I don't know. At this point, maybe we could probably make some concessions or whatever, but that's where it's.
Okay, I remember we talked before, what's the name of your hazmat, not your hazmat, the kids the young adults that you teach?
Sir,
Yes, We talked about giving them a little incentive to continue in that, or did you put anything in your budgets for that?
You probably use the part-time money for that. That's what I thought.
Oh, to use part-time. Okay. Anybody got any questions? Nope, okay, so they know your ask, 160,000 for salaries. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No, study sessions for whatever you have on the, yeah, yeah, budget workshops start that afternoon though.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, who's here? Anyone? Oh, hi, Joe, come on.
Can't hurt that.
Come on up, you're next.
Yeah. That's a pass.
I just told you.
All right.
So no big requests on my end, other than request for market adjustment for the salaries for 3 team members. The only other minor adjustment was there was one item on the budget that was taken down to 0 in the previous year. I ended up having to try to get money adjusted, moved to that item. It's for employment testing. So I didn't realize that that's the line item we pay for, drug and alcohol tests out of. So that's a minor change. The major ask is just for the market adjustments
We do drug testing of employees?
from time to time. We haven't done it, pre-employment testing, but there's still for cause testing.
Oh, you mean those that are currently employed for whatever reason?
Yeah, and at least,
Administer them for the high, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
Do you administer for the highway too, or is that separate?
no, they have their own.
They do
So it's
their own-
DOT there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but similarly, we have guidelines in the handbook that, we can send somebody for a for cause test if they show signs of impairment or, in my opinion, if they exercise an error in judgment or coordination, then that could be cause for sending them for a test.
And usually show accident.
Potentially.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If that accident was indicative of a error in judgment or coordination.
Not the police, though, just regular employees who are using.
No, all their stuff would fall under their
Contract.
CBA, and
Mhm.
every CBA I've ever seen though has some language regarding drug and
Yeah.
alcohol.
just asking
All of ours
with
do.
the-
Chris, all of ours have that. I wrote about, so Public Works and Highway
Yeah.
have it written in there, and if you review 911, it's in there too, as long as it's fair and reasonable and it's not subjecting, and remote testing has
I'd
to
like
be
to see
done
that
with
language.
dignity. You can't send them into, an open room and hand them a solo cup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I know you have also been requesting for quite some time now an amendment to the employee handbook. Is it possible to just, instead of the long video or whatever, do a little summary of the request that you want?
Sure.
This,
And I wanted to make myself available. I know there's guidelines in terms of how many folks can meet before it's a public meeting, but I mean, I'm willing to meet one-on-one, one-on-two to go over any of the, suggested changes.
I think if you send it out, just a summary, a sometimes small summary, 1 page, whatever, and then we can review it, and if anyone has questions, then they can contact you. If not, then we place it on the agenda and we move forward.
Yeah, because there's a few items that I'd love the council's opinion on in terms of, we can determine how strict an attendance policy is, for instance, by just adjusting a little bit. Same thing with the kind of disciplinary schedule of progressive discipline. Those are things that we can be more strict or more lenient, or, fall in where we think it's fair or right for, for our employees. So,
Well, maybe we can get it done sometime this year so we can start fresh in 24.
yeah, great. Yeah, I'll send that over today.
All right, very good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else here? Oh, come on up. 911.
Good morning.
Morning,
Afternoon.
afternoon.
I don't even, it's not even Tuesday right now for me. It feels like
is
it's Monday
Tuesday.
again. I know. So within our budget, there were a couple things that we were asking for. This last year, you had approved $850,000 in overtime. We're trying to move that to $900,000. Staffing, we're bringing on 11 people a week from Monday. So, and we have another 14 in training right now. It's 25 people right there, but we're still going to need to hire probably another 15 to 16 people to get it close to fully staffed. We're continuing to move. I mean, we got an amazing team that's doing a lot of training, but ultimately, I don't know if we're going to be completely there when it comes to the overtime side of it by that time. One of the other significant things, and you'll see this as soon as the union provides it to me, and I know we had kind of talked, ma'am, about this. There'll be a new contract that we'll need to put in front of you for ratification. The membership has already voted on it. We're just waiting to get it back from the union.
Okay.
We don't ratify that.
No, but you need to,
No.
you need to sign on, sorry, ratification.
Because we're the finance.
Apologies. It'll go to the commissioners. They'll make sure that everything's okay on there, and then it'll get to you before the end of the year. But that's where the increase in our protective services comes into play with some salary increases. We're looking at adjusting that out of training, $21 an hour, all the way up to $27 an hour at the top scale to try to continue to keep some of the employees that we have. What we're seeing is that middle ground is where we're losing some people, is they're maybe getting trained with us and then they're going to other places to make a little more money at other 911 centers.
Moving in the right direction, because we were really low. What were we low, Mark?
We were at about 62 a couple months ago, out of 105. It was not great. Yeah, I want to say, I think the best numbers are great, but one of the things that we saw is we had 6 people leave our organization to go to other 911 centers. 5 of them have asked to come back in some way, shape, or form. And we've brought 4 of them back on. The other one we decided not to. So I think it's showing that, hey, maybe the grass is not always greener. I mean, we had the great resignation happening where people were leaving all different places, and to see people coming back just actually, I think, speaks volumes to everything we're trying to accomplish here.
For sure does. That's good news. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no worries.
Appreciate it.
No worries. The thing you'll see some significant changes in is in our 399 fund. So that's the 911 fee fund. And that is a fund that we have, it's very robust. We've been very frugal with that since the moment I've walked in this door. And this year's the year that we're going to try, or I should say next year with your approval, we're going to try to make some expenditures on that. One of the specific ones is going to be purchasing a new CAD server. CAD server was purchased several years ago, but we need to continue to remain current with that. So we're asking for $600,000 to replace our CAD server.
Where's that comes from telephone, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, the cell phone surcharge. So there's only certain things that we can pay and utilize
That's what I
those
was
funds
gonna
for.
ask,
And this is one of those things we can utilize those for. And I've talked with Scott prior to asking for this money. The fund is sound. We're not going to go anywhere near under budget. We're just using some of the excess, because the other concern I have is if we don't use it, is the state going to start saying, well, you don't need much as we're providing you. We're already considered a donor county, meaning we don't get as much as our county citizens provide. And I want to make sure that we don't lose any more of that if we can help it.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. Geez, seems like we moved on to a different topic and you're bringing back some recollections about the donor counties and all that.
Sorry, I don't mean to rehash things.
Yeah, no, because none of this was our idea, but yeah, okay. Yeah, I forgot all about that.
So that's one of the significant increases in the 399 fund, and as well as, so the entire administrative team is on that fund. And if we're going to raise the salaries of the dispatchers, we need to make sure that our management is also getting it. It makes sense for them to move into management positions. So that's ultimately where we're trying to climb a little bit there as well. I think that's roughly the big pieces to it all. Any questions I can help with?
No, any questions? All right, thank you.
All right. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
All right, let's see. Oh, Nick? Oh, no, Nick, are you ready?
Before Nick starts, I know everybody knows that we can't meet individually with human resources in serial meetings, even though he suggested that.
What do you mean?
We can't meet 1 or 2 at a time with the head of human resources and then have multiple meetings. He asked to do that. You said just write us an executive summary. That's the right answer.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, the way he suggests you violate the serial meeting law.
Yeah.
You can't meet one at a time in 7 days. That's a conspiracy to get around that law. City of Gary paid $100,000.
I thought it was, we couldn't meet with 2.
No, once you
Keep
reach
saying, hey,
the
we're gonna meet
majority.
with 2 to avoid the open door law.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
You can't meet with 1 either.
You can meet with one.
Yeah, that's, okay,
that's
okay. I thought you were saying the opposite. You couldn't. Yeah, you could
No,
meet with one
you
and
want
that's
to meet
it.
with one and then meet with another one and then another one.
Yeah, you run into an earlier problem once you meet with two. Your notifications have to be different than you presently given. That's why you only meet supposedly with one. That's that committee meets with one as opposed to two. You have to notify people when you meet with
All right.
more than one.
Nick, you're up.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Nick.
Our first budget is our health fund budget, which is our main budget right now. And we asked for a 4% salary increase in there for the full-time employees. And the total budget is, request is $3,391,790. Do you want me to wait for questions or go clear through all my budgets?
I think going through is fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The next one is our health maintenance fund budget. That's been a grant we've had for over 20 years. And it's money we get upfront from the state to run programs. Right now, we're mainly running our recreational water program, our pools and our beaches and that type of thing, using that money. Now, this grant money will become part of the new Health First Indiana funding after the first of the year. So we won't be getting this money in this form. We'll be getting it with our new money included with it after the first of the year. So I made this budget up though for next year because we still have a cash balance in here after we finish this year. And we're allowed to spend that and spend that down until there's no more money in that fund. But I've included this grant money in my new Health First Indiana money. And that budget will turn into the council later, once we get it all squared away with the state as far as it being okay the way we've submitted it.
Okay, so currently the grant, you can spend those funds up to when?
Up until they're
the
gone.
time you
Up
get
until
the new
they're gone.
fund? Up until they're gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have quite a bit of cash in there, more than what the grant requires, because it's accumulated over, like I said, more than 20 years of just money not spent, and then it rolls over to the next year.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
With the opt-in of the commissioners into that new pot of money being distributed out of the surplus from the state, how does that impact this budget that you submitted? Have you added additional personnel to fulfill some of those requirements? I want to say that was Senate and rollback 4, was that right?
Yes.
What?
This budget itself, the health maintenance, is included in that new money budget. So I can get that money again.
But how do you execute all the provisions of SEA 4 without adding personnel?
Oh, we are adding personnel.
How many?
Well, there's part-time on this budget. On the next budget I'll get to, there's 3 people in there, or 2 people in there full-time. There's other new full-time people, which we've included in that new SEA 4 budget. So I can break that down for you after I finish this, if you like.
No, it's just a question, because I believe that act is also set to expire at a certain point too. It's not going to be a continuing fund of money depending upon the surplus of the state.
It's a 2-year budget.
Right.
So it'll come up for renewal in 2 years again, in 26.
Okay. Thank you, Nick.
Okay. The next budget is our tobacco settlement fund. And it's similar to the local health maintenance, and that it's a grant. We've had it for a long time. That money will become part of the new money and roll into there when we start next year. But I've got surplus or a cash balance in there too. So we can use that until it's gone. Then we can get rid of the fund numbers and all that stuff. We start with the new fund numbers with the new grant money.
Okay.
The next budget is the local health, the PEP grant. And that's 100% reimbursable grant. We've had that for, I don't know, 6-7 years now. And it's 100% reimbursable. And the amount for that is $116,344. The next budget is our COVID testing money. And that was upfront money they provided to us. And we did all the COVID testing we're required to do with that money. And the state told us that we can use that money for other health department needs after we were done. So we still have a balance in there of $17,082. So I've created a budget. So after we get going, and we go ahead and spend that down to nothing and get that fund zeroed out. And the last one is the same thing as the Public Health Crisis Response COVID testing grant. And it was for COVID testing. We did the testing, but there was a balance left in there too of $39,959. So I'm submitting a budget in there for that so that we can spend that money down.
Okay.
So those are all of our budgets we have right now.
All right, any questions for Nick? All right, thanks, Nick.
Okay.
Avex here?
HVAC?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
I'm Robert Hall. I stepped in for Dale Mish
Okay.
last July, so it's my first time.
Oh, welcome.
Actually, my second time, but I was with Dale last year, so thank you.
You're the unsung hero of keeping us comfortable.
Well, we're working at it diligently, yes.
Feels good in here.
Thank you. I had two asks on our budget for this year. One is some salary increase, some monies to help us maybe be competitive with some employees that are looking for work. We had 3 individuals that I was hoping to hire into our lead / supervisory role that were making about $95,000 a year. And I'm very interested in attracting those levels of people. That's a position I stepped out of when Dale Mish, we swapped last July and he's gone as of June 30th this year. But I have a Tech 2 position that's available, an entry-level position available as well. I have an individual starting in that in October this year, so October 2nd. Our upper lead position is what we're really wanting to hire into. And we're advertising for that now. Last 3 candidates opted not to come on board. I'm trying to make that salary adjustment and coming out of the city, moved into Northwest Indiana and looking to make a change, but it was just something they decided they couldn't afford this time.
You tell them his taxes are lower here and all that stuff?
I spent an average about 5 hours with each candidate. Quite a bit of.
Do these people that come to you have to be credentialed HVAC techs?
Really, the only credentialing that's involved would be an EPA certification. By law, they need to have that so they can handle and purchase refrigerants.
Okay.
Outside that, we do send them to a couple of classes where they would get some certification from manufacturers.
So you think these are skilled positions?
Very much so, yes. All of the individuals that I had recently hired for this particular lead role, if you will, one of which, one individual went on to take a maintenance management position with Strike and Van Til. They all had 10+ years in the industry, which is one of our job requirements. One of the individuals had 22 years downtown as a building engineer with Prudential Plaza, 2 high-rise towers downtown. He's still there, as a matter of fact. Understand with their union positions, he was making quite a bit of money, about $115,000 a year with his overtime. But understanding that, he's looking for a different type of occupation, something a little more stable, so on and so forth.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Would it help, or have you thought about, what if we went and talked to someone over, to some of those tin knockers and see if they want to bring someone over, maybe a retiree out of the local, I forget what local number it is over here.
Sure.
And if that's the case, we could create, they might come in and the guy like, with 30 years experience, maybe you only need him 20 hours a week because he does in 20 hours what would take a young guy 40 hours to do.
Right, right.
And
That's a very.
and if that's the case and you need to match that with some funding,
Right.
because everybody's looking for a little part-time gig, maybe 20 hours a week or something. And if there's a magic number, let your chairman know.
Yeah.
And we would put in for, we can make that adjustment, correct, Tom, to increase that part-time ordinance for that particular department. And that might solve some of the problems. You get a qualified guy, he's making a decent hourly rate. Maybe he's willing to work 15 hours a week, and that's just enough to help you get by until you can really get that 40-hour guy.
Right, right. That's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that, actually. Would explore that, absolutely. I certainly need the help. I'm doing all of the above right now. Everything that the department requires, myself and the new guy are doing right now, so. Anything that is, I've been to some after-hours trade related schools to try and recruit and so forth like that.
I thought you were gonna say after our cigar places.
No, that's me, Chris. That's where you would find me is the, but we could give Kevin Keogh a call, see if he wants to come work, make a couple extra bucks, maybe he might want to.
We have interviewed some fellas that were union employees, union service technicians, either 597 or local sheet metal workers union.
Oh, you guys are good fitters.
Which I was a service fitter in 597. I started in 83. Got a truck a few years ago. I've lived in Lake County since 1971. So I decided a few years back to make a life change, if you will. And,
right.
Kind of work my way up here in the last 3 years. I'm going into my 4th year here. So I understand what some fellows are considering and job change and, salary and so on and so forth. But I find what we have to offer very competitive considering the job, what the job is. It's very stable, so on and so forth. There's a lot to learn here.
Right.
Very unique facility with all the type of technologies that we have, the ages and so forth like that. But
I got a lot of respect for what you pipe fitters do. It's pretty impressive.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I
didn't want to take up too much time. Second asset we had was a little bit of money to help us expand the coverage that we have on our chiller equipment. There's some new technologies that we have available to us that we're using on a temporary basis right now that collects data remotely and helps with predictive analysis. Parts obsolescence and supply chain issues are a little bit scary for us. And we'd like to add that service to our chiller PSA preventative service agreements. We have not in the past covered our air-cooled chillers, and I'd like to add those as well. We have a brand new one we just put into juvenile detention, and that was new March of 2023. So next March, it will be off of its complimentary year service. We'd like to add that. It's a large and technically advanced piece of equipment, and we want to make sure that it gets its maintenance as it should. There's a lot of simple stuff that we can't handle in-house. The objective of this department has been to be 90% self-performing of all the work. I do believe that that's possible, provided we get people that are here, come and work and can do the work. So that's the hiring issue. But with regards to the machinery, I'd like to increase some of that coverage on that equipment, and would like to plan for that this coming end of year, because our contract renewals are up, and we'll be entertaining some pricing with that.
Okay, any questions? All right. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Robert.
Thank you.
All right, who's next? No.
We can knock out council if you want.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. We're all levy fund item to stay within our guideline from 3%.
Say what?
There we go, get in the microphone. I stay within the guideline of 3% for our levy funds.
You know, Scott, it's very hard to find councilmen, so I was assuming that we're gonna get a 10% increase in wages to make the position more.
Yeah,
attractive.
I compared salaries across the nation for council.
We're very underpaid.
And you're extremely underpaid.
Chicago.
Exactly. The purchasing positions that we layered in the budget, I placed them at 0 for next year. I'm assuming that issue's behind us now. That was four positions. That's really kind of it. Nothing real earth shattering in ours, other than we're giving back some money because we had some positions that we're not going to fill.
We're not gonna fill?
Terry's,
We're not thinking.
well, it's up to you guys.
Yeah.
I'm making the assumption, I'm going out on a limb, we're not going to fill.
We
the
need a
purchasing
PR
positions.
person.
But we do have administrative assistant role, which is Terry's, still in the budget.
Okay.
And, you know, one of the things we have to kind of talk about, now Larry's still here, but I think it's important to keep that in the budget, Scott. I'm in favor of keeping it funded in the budget. We move George around, we might need to bring someone in.
Yep.
And let's face it, you know, when Larry decides to retire, that research position is gonna be critical to put someone in there too. So I don't think we want to short ourselves. We can have a funded unfilled position with.
Yeah,
I don't think it's, we're not talking a ton of money anyway.
Yeah, what I have found is that there have been times here in our office where there's only one person, one staff member. And I don't think it should be that way, because then that staff member doesn't truly get breaks, doesn't truly get a lunch hour. Is trying to conduct business and taking care of phone calls. So I don't know if that's just watching out when who's on vacation or what. But yeah, so that's something we got to discuss more is staffing here in our office. Okay, anything else, Scott, for that? Commissioner didn't cover government center. He could have done that when he was here, or did he? No, I don't think so. You talk about the other courthouses? No.
What would you like to hear?
Where's,
Mike?
Mike,
I was.
Commissioner. Do
No,
you want to do the courthouses and the government center?
I treated those just as I treated everything else in our budget, that doesn't have and would respectfully request a 3% raise on those budgeted items, but there's nothing out of the norm or out of the ordinary in that regard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The only one that I see is economic development. Maybe we can.
I haven't seen.
Oh, I just got 15. Who?
I'll run down there and see if he's.
We did data, right?
Or Lake Ridge.
We did pyramid, didn't we, earlier?
Yes.
Yeah, I have to use the restrooms.
When I take, you know, we're ahead of the schedule. Should we take 5 minutes? Everybody can make. Madam Chair, I make the motion, to take a 5-minute recess, returning at 3:10. Aye.
Motion been made second void. Okay, thank you. Passes.
Potty.
One.
Everybody can use whatever.
News, and there wasn't too much that was occurring then. It got reduced quite a bit, but we typically spend a little over 4,000 in dues each year. One of those alone is for the National Association that we're on for housing officials, and that one alone is pretty expensive. It's about 2,200. Furniture and fixtures, it was $1. What we usually do is try to get 1,000, because if a chair breaks or something else, it's just to have something there available instead of having to do transfers. That's in the 64410 furniture and fixtures line. And then well, really, this one's really weird. I don't know how this really happened, but what shows up in the budget printout is that we had a 64410 in the cumulative cap for furniture and fixtures, and it's zeroed out. We didn't even ask for furniture and fixtures. What we asked for from data was other equipment, because they buy computers for us to repair and replace our computers, plus the software that we use to analyze and bid all of our projects out, our rehab projects and so on. And And, we typically ask for 10,000. We've gotten by with 5,000 before. But we ask for 10 every time we start doing replacement computers. This year, I think we're okay on computers. We're having a problem with Tamika's a little bit like we did before, and we had to replace it once, but that's only one.
Right.
So I'm not too worried about if one is giving me problems, but if a few others, then I got a problem. But I would be fine with 5,000 instead of just $1 in that. But I sent a letter to Carolyn like we normally do. I don't know why,
I would reach out to data and ask them why. they didn't.
why it didn't
Or make
show up.
sure, yeah, or maybe you are, it goes in their budget, but ask them if they have. it or
Right,
not.
what the weird
Or
part
why
about
not.
is it showed up here on the printout I got from Tori that was 651. That's never showed up before.
Yeah, so I can,
Oh, it is there?
I can explain, let me explain that. So, last year during the budget process, Cap was kind of I don't know, it wasn't used as intended for a while, so. We had some Cap expenditures in the general fund historically, and then some non-Cap expenditures in Cap. So last year, during the budget process, we were conscious, and made an effort to move Cap spending from the general fund into Cap.
Mhm.
So the reason why you see $1 in the general fund is because you actually had $1,000 in the general fund for that line item. And we budgeted, or you had $2,000 in that line item, and we budgeted 2,000 in Cap. So you have $2,000 this year in 651 for these items. So you have, just not gone, we just moved it around, so. it's-
Where it should be.
Exactly. So that's caused confusion for, this is a good example, Tim.
Yeah.
Hey, I see $1, it's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
$1 is just a signal to me that we requested it, we typically gave it to you, we just moved it out of the general fund to 651.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that
So you
makes
have it.
sense.
You're good, and you'll get it, you'll likely get it next year, it won't be the 1,000 you replaced in the general fund. It'll go back to Cap.
Yeah, that 1,000, if it's in Cap, just get rid of the 1,000.
Well, you got 2,000
But
this
other-
year. Yeah, so we'll give you only 1,000, we're gonna take 1,000 away right now.
No, don't do that because I can't afford my software. You know, but 2,000 typically isn't even enough to afford our renewal software. Why is it so low?
So, okay, Scott, so again, your software, any computer essentials flow through Mark Pierman's budget. I think
Okay,
it's confusing,
that's
because
it.
it is.
Well, the 2,000's fine then, that's great.
1,000 now.
Yeah.
Better than $1.
It was better than $1. Yeah.
1,000.
999 better than.
Yeah, all righty. During submittal of my budgets, I had to do it 3 times because it kept on, the system wouldn't save anything. It kept it out, zeroed it out, and I had to submit it again. Finally, I submitted it the 3rd time, and in the process, I think there were some things that occurred. And this is in the HUD fund, the 8170 admin fund. In office and clerical, what it did is it added my part-time secretary position to my bookkeeper position and made it 62,000. It's not. There's only one person in there. It's 42,000. So I'd like that one changed and reduced by 20,000 because the part-time is in there. It's in there where it's supposed to be. So that one needs to be reduced.
Did you submit that paperwork to Scott, Tori?
I just did.
You just did.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I
Perfect.
just said it. And then the other one is on group insurance. This goes back from last year. The HUD only allows us to use a certain amount of percentage of our grants for admin. And ever since we've been doing the workman's comp and group insurance, it's been getting closer and closer to the point where it becomes more unaffordable. That amount, I can't absorb that amount of those 2 items. We had this approved last year where the group insurance and workman's comp for this fund would come out of the general fund and not out of the grant fund. I pay for the FICA and the PERF out of the grant fund because that I can afford, but I cannot afford all 4 of them. So
So you're looking for the full 135,850 or whatever it comes to.
yeah, just like it was,
to
just
come
like
out
it
of the
was
general
last year.
fund.
That's correct. Just like it was last year.
Yes.
So those are the only changes I see from what I submitted. I checked off everything else based on the position budget and so on. Across the board, everything else was fine, based on what I submitted for everybody to review. Which I'm assuming that's the printouts that you guys have to look at, so.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Tim? All right. Thank you, Tim.
Yep, that's all. See you later.
Yep. Enjoy your rest of your vacation.
Thank you.
We done?
I got,
Lake Ridge.
Lake Ridge, I see. That's it.
That's it.
How many dairy courthouses?
No, we did that.
Oh,
Yep.
Mike did that.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yep. Government Center, Mike did that. Yep, that's it. Just Lake Ridge, no one's here, but they were ahead of schedule.
I don't know if we could reach out to, what's I forget,
Tim Kuiper?
if it was late.
Probably underway, I would think.
Well, then that's always good.
I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember her name. She does a lot of the budget recommendation on it. We could
Lake
reach
Ridge
out
isn't
to them.
online, are they? No.
You got
Scott,
control of that, or,
I don't know if a lot of the councilmen know this, but Scott and I met with Matt Fetch about Lake Ridge, because they just can't get guys to respond to calls. And they want to have paid firemen. We had talked about the public safety fund, but now I noted from your email, or from your memo rather, that the public safety fund
How much
is in the red.
they have.
Yeah.
You have to
It's-
put the place or whatever.
If we honor all the requests for next year's budget, it will be.
Yeah.
So
Which is no bueno, as I understand.
exactly.
No way, no.
Correct.
No bueno, bueno. Hmm. So they want a fire department?
They think they can maybe become self-sufficient at some point with their ambulance money, but
Where are they gonna get fired?
Never happens.
they have the fire truck. Well,
Oh, yeah,
they
the commissioner's
technically have-
or, yeah.
They should be going after that money right now. If ambulance probably should be billing the insurance anyway.
They are doing that,
Okay,
but this commissioner's money was seed money.
yeah.
They're negotiating all the firefighters to get the fire trucks back, and they tell me they're close. But we're gonna use that public safety money.
We
to
should go there and
get
take them back.
Well, that's the next step.
And, and if anyone, then bring the sheriff and anyone that, because that does not belong to them. It belongs to the people of Lake County. I disagree. I don't think
It's
that's.
titled in their name, but it's messed up. But
It should never-
Kevin Smith is working with their lawyer to fix it.
Oh, good Lord, what is that?
The legal titles, but not,
Yeah.
They have caused
That's,
us.
yeah.
and that's what counts.
That's what counts.
The,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the registration counts or the title counts?
Taxpayers.
The title.
But in my name, that doesn't mean I have.
Right, exactly.
Sadly, they entered into a contract that says that they do.
That's,
That's the crazy part.
yeah. But I mean, if they want to do a decade.
Oh, yeah, I think,
yeah, I thought that's what the commissioners, yeah, they didn't want to own it, they just,
but Kevin Smith's been talking to the unions, to the firefighter, not union, the firefighters, attorney, and it sounds like they're close to getting that part worked out. So I just don't know what we're gonna do, we've been, I don't want to say stringing Tim along, we've been telling Tim, hey, Tim, let's see if we can get some money out of this public safety fund.
yeah.
How much money are we talking?
It's hundreds of thousands.
How did he shut that off? Did he?
I can't turn, I don't know, an email notification. I tried, it says it's turned off, but it's still ringing.
Oh, yeah, it's not off,
My
it's
phone is
just,
possessed. I think it's.
here's power right
My
here.
poltergeist going on or something.
There's power.
I told you when I seen that, I said that it was completely messed up and I was angry about that. I'm angry about that Lake Ridge all the way around and,
Yeah.
and it's just a terrible, terrible situation. And if we gotta come up with, 300,000 to fund this thing in addition, then we, the people there deserve coverage and they deserve a response, and we have to take care of them, but
They have some calls where nobody responds.
we can't, that's
You guys are talking about
unacceptable.
Lake Ridge.
Yeah,
Well, it's an ordinance. Repeal the ordinance and the fire department doesn't exist anymore and start from scratch.
What,
Well, they never have it. Well,
could we get a list of things that are coming out of the public safety? And then let's look at it and let's prioritize it, because obviously our ambulance and fire coverage for people that are having no response is a priority to us, or should be. And maybe some of these other things that are funded under public
I
safety.
think it's just the commissioners and the sheriff that have access to, that have part of those monies right now.
Yeah, those two.
Not many other, I think it's, but what they're using it for,
I think you and I and Pete all have a piece of that.
I don't know.
yeah, that's the question as well. I
I'd
think
like
the
to see a
sheriff
list
wants,
of, if we
the
could have.
sheriff wants 3.5 million of there right now.
Well, if we can have a list of,
In
there's
addition.
100 things that are coming out of there, Scott prepares that for us, and then we could look at it and say, well, you know what?
This can
We
wait.
feel that there need to have a fireman to, or an ambulance driver, whatever they're asking for to get there to respond to take care of these people, then we need to back this request out, because to me, that would be a priority.
Yeah, I thought weren't we talking about looking at another entity to, like Maryville or something?
They didn't want to take.
Oh, they did, we chit chat.
Well, and Chris, it was extremely costly too.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing.
Extremely.
Hi.
But we like that. Are you gonna present for Lake Ridge?
You're here?
We're ready to go right now, if you are.
Yep.
And
Well, we are a little ahead of schedule. What time? Oh, 3:45.
I like being ahead of schedule.
Me too. I think this year we had less conversation among the council people, like you meant, so did it.
I think we're less.
He's going on running right now.
Oh, yeah, that's what I heard. I just, I'm trying to think who told me that.
I just asked him at lunch, where was he going after here?
Who did I?
What are you talking about?
I heard that, well, he's not here right now, I'm going to ask him, is running for Congress.
You could ask him that question yourself.
Because that's what I heard. That's what I said. I wouldn't ask anybody else. I had heard that. I heard that a couple days ago. Really? Well, I don't know, if it could be yes too. I mean, I don't know, how people talk all the time.
It was in like a Politico.
I thought Green was running.
Maybe.
Was it?
That's
Well,
what,
I didn't see it.
I thought Pete would. He jumped.
Pete's loving his job way too much.
Oh, God, I bet he is.
12 years ago.
Did you?
14 years ago.
That's one of his babies, like the South Shore, now the airport. Yeah, well, there he is.
Running for Congress.
What?
You were asked to run. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, the usual answer.
Oh,
That means yes.
Politicians do that, they're undeveloped. Why would you keep it a secret? Who would give you the secret?
I don't know. That's what the rumor was out there, that you were running for Congress.
I'm here considering a budget, so.
Yeah.
Considering.
We've all recessed.
Okay. Whenever you're ready.
The budget presented to you by Lake Ridge Fire Department has been considered, I'm sorry, first of all, Trista Hudson, nice to see you all again, from Senator Dalton, the financial municipal advisors to Lake Ridge Fire. I do expect Tim, the board president, to be here. I don't think he would be by Zoom. So he may walk in a few moments.
Okay.
So where I started though, unfortunately, what you have before you is a budget that we help them prepare, balancing what we expect their revenues to be against their expenditures. They have always and continue to make sure that they spend just within the revenues that they receive. Of course, the addition to that this year is with the ambulance service. You're familiar that they had come and asked for some of the lit public safety money. They are doing that again in this budget, as you have before you. We predict in this budget for them, 500,000 coming from, again, that lit public safety money. We do, though, with full faith and all hope, expect that that will be high and not fully needed by the end of next year, as their private collections from the patients that they handle on the ambulance service actually come and return to them, the revenue returned to them. So far, we can't give a good prediction on what that number is going to be because it's taken a while for those billing cycles to get in place, and they've only received a very small revenue to date from that. By December, we expect to have a better estimate of that and can certainly share with you or with your finance staff when you want that information. Tim has predicted those expenses again very close to the chest. He's predicted out weekly hourly payroll that is needed for that EMS service to be able to be provided, as well as the supplies. And here he comes through the other door. Many of the startup costs are, of course, now taken care of during this year of 2023. And so the supplies going forward really relate to pure operational expenses of fuel, the medical supplies that they need to replenish, gauze pads, those kinds of things that are used. They are still able to obtain some of those supplies from the hospitals, not quite as freely as they used to prior to COVID, but they're still using those avenues to their best ability as well. In their general fund budget, they will be continuing to pay for their volunteer fire service as they have in the past. That is funded by property tax levy as it always has been. So they will continue in that same fashion for that part of the budget as has always been presented to you in the past.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So I don't know, and maybe this is a better question for Keith here. I don't know a lot about the Lake Ridge Fire Protection District. You have your own ambulance service, or is it?
Yes.
Okay, and how many runs, how many calls do you typically?
We're gonna do 1,200 a year,
1,200?
about 100 a month.
So,
1,200 a month? Which thing?
100 a month.
Oh, 1,200.
so that's gonna generate probably somewhere around 25-30% of your budget in revenue.
I hope to get about, my goal is 250 to 300 a year, but our community is a lot of Medicaid, Medicare.
Right.
So maybe,
And are those billing thresholds different than?
Oh, yeah.
Than
Yeah.
federal, like,
or
or even private insurance?
federal came up, so right now, if my bill is 1,400, they pay me $300 flat, that's it.
Have you done anything to try and capitalize certain billing thresholds as it relates to your?
Yes.
Fiscal policy?
Since we're only 6 or 7 months old, I don't have a lot of good data coming in yet from where we're gonna be at. But my goal is to have at least 250 to 300,000 a year in revenue that we can add to what I call the pot.
Is it 1,200 calls a year? That's a pretty ambitious goal, to get that much revenue.
We have billed,
That's historical data, isn't it? The runs?
yes,
Right.
right.
But there's gonna be, like you said, there's be a certain amount of debt that's uncollectible.
Oh,
some of that
right.
stuff.
60%.
Yeah.
The medical services themselves have been provided by volunteers prior to this. And so that number there.
Okay.
Good comfortable.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around the business model that you
Yep.
have here.
Well, I've billed for $461,000 already for this year. Okay, that money is gonna probably run in at about 25 to 40%. I don't
Do you
know
have any
yet.
fire billing in place?
No, that's separate.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, I'm just trying to get a
No
little
problem.
grasp on it.
Are we
Thank you.
early? Okay, it's all right.
Yeah, we're running ahead.
Anyone else got any questions for Lake Ridge?
How much, Tim, how much are you coming to this body for? Anything?
Over than my regular budget?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Money for the ambulance side.
Okay.
And then, like I was telling the council how you and Matt and Scott and I have been talking about public
Right.
safety money on the fire side.
Right.
Nothing on the fire side in this request.
Okay,
They've
just
decided to
ambulance.
keep that still with the volunteer department under a new chief.
Hmm.
Hoping to still run that as they have in the past with continued assistance and maybe even a little bit more commitment, maybe that's too strong from Maribel and Gary as well for mutual aid. Tim maybe can speak better to that now that he's
So,
back with us, but
Marvin? Marvin's our new chief. I kind of like him. So basically what we're gonna try to do for this coming year, instead of asking you folks for a whole bunch more money for paid firefighters, we're gonna enter into some new agreements, what we call an automatic aid program, which automatically will dispatch 3 or 4 departments on different structure fires. Like yesterday, there was several hot structure fires in the county. And so like Lowell gets a fire, they'll dispatch Cedar Lake, to St. John, whoever, whatever. So everybody will come help for that fire. And so we're gonna put in a new program with Gary, Maryville, Sherrville, Griffith. So hopefully when these fires come in between 4 departments, we're gonna have enough people to take care of our needs instead of going to the paid program, which is our last resort because that costs a lot of money.
Are you, you have a contract with any of those agencies as it relates to like a typical township to provider contract?
We have mutual aid agreements already to where if I get a call, I
I'm talking about a financial contract, not necessarily.
no financial contracts. These are all just mutual agreements to where they don't bill us, we don't bill them.
Yeah,
and we
that's,
go.
that's pretty typical
Yes.
mutual aid stuff.
Yes.
Uh,
Even with the
that's through
auto.
Mavis, right?
Yes, even with the auto aid stuff, there won't be any financial stuff involved in that. It's just basically, they're agreeing that as soon as we get a structure fire, they'll automatically send somebody. Well, when we get towed, they'll get towed. Instead of me having to call them en route, or when I get on the thing, they'll automatically be toned out with me.
You're gonna help me with that cap.
Okay, any other questions?
Okay.
Dave, you satisfied?
Good, no, that's.
Okay, all right.
That's good. Actually, Councilman Boski was explaining some of that to me, he had some dialogue.
We're trying to
We're
get the
good.
cost down.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for taking the trip up.
Yeah. For 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
All right, so we meet for study session on Thursday and then we have the budget workshop.
Is that at 1?
Yeah, 1:00. So we have time for lunch.
Just for you guys, how many of those dates?
I know you guys too.
Usually it's been 3.
When I was here,
Yeah.
oh, now,
Yeah.
that's had it so funny.
Yeah.
We have a plethora, but this budget, we can be done in 2. I'd say we have Thursday's meeting, and then we might not need to come back until first reading. I think we should be able to make enough motions on Thursday that we won't have to have another meeting on first reading.
Yeah, I think maybe well, I've spoken to Scott and probably some of you about options of how we handle this budget cycle, and he might present us with some options, and then maybe we can,
That would be sweet.
yeah, and then just
But-
move.
We have somewhere to go, get it, come in, not Zoom, the feeling once we have.
I mean, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
But you need to make sure your phone's clear for that. Everybody should, because that way you're not as a guest coming in. You could be.
Make sure your camera's on.
Rita, you already done with?
Yeah.
Cell phone
Yeah.
thing, did they take it and get it?
Yes, Randy,
Point it out.
On the Zoom up in.
Oh, is that?
Cause you never know.
that was for story.
Every one of us could end up on it.
You have to be seen and.
I've attended a couple panel board meetings, the WebEx.
I plan on, if you're gonna have more.
Thank you, Desmond.
I went
Thank you,
to
Scott.
with my dog and my camper out of the plane.
All right, see everybody Thursday.
You third this month.
Motion to adjourn, so
Second.
second,
Aye.
favor aye.
Thank you, everyone.